All right. The time is 7:02 and the date is October 4th, 2021. This is a regular meeting of the Springfield City Council. Madam Clerk, would you please be so kind and call the roll?
Councilor Edwards.
Present.
Present. Councilor Letterman.
Present.
Present. Councilor Gomez.
Present.
Present. Councilor Allen.
He was just admitted, Madam Clerk.
Councilor Allen.
Councilor Allen, you're muted.
Present. Thank you.
Present. Councilor Curran.
Present.
Present. Councilor Whitfield. Absent. Councilor Ramos.
Present.
Present. Councilor Brown. Absent. Councilor Walsh.
Councilor Walsh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Present.
Present. Councilor Davila. You're also muted, Councilor.
Present.
Present. Councilor Fenton.
Present.
Present. Councilor Hurst. Absent. Councilor Williams.
Present. Thank you. Would our councilors and guests please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Before we get started, councilors, we have a very robust agenda tonight. I would just implore you to please just be concise as possible with your comments and questions. And please exercise the use of continuance if you feel that the conversation is diving into kind of uncharted territory and deserves further conversation. I think that would help the meeting move along further, and I will do my best to keep that effort as well. All right, so with that being said, I'd like to start first with reports of committee, if any councilors have reports of committee. Councilor Walsh. Councilor Walsh, you're muted.
Didn't realize I had muted that then. There are two items to report favorably out of the Maintenance and Development Committee. We met on issues that had been backlogged in our committee and last week, and they were reported on favorably. One was the order accepting the easement from American International College for furtherance in the city's bike share program. And the other was the no parking on Long Hill Street, referred to our committee by Councilor Letterman. For the first one, the no parking on Long Hill Street, Deputy Director of DPW, Chris Signoli, attended the meeting. This was referred to, I believe, by Councilor Letterman, and said that the parking on Long Hill Street, and many of you may be familiar with it, with parking of Long Hill and Sumner Avenue, the management company wanted a temporary no parking sign from Monday noon to Tuesday noon so they could put the barrels out. And our committee felt this was a reasonable request. Their barrels are picked up by a waste management company. And because of so many people that park there, they're not able to put them out. So we thought this was a reasonable request. Councilor Letterman made a motion to Councilor Fenton seconded it. We approved it and we're reporting it out favorably for final approval tonight. It's also an order on the agenda, item number 13. Mr. President, I'm not sure if you want to take it now, if you'd like to take it later.
If we can hold off, Counselor, just for a few.
Okay, and the second one was the easement from AIC to help further the city's bike share program, which again, the committee felt was a good idea and reported out favorably. And Councilor Gomez, who attended our meeting, said he thought it was a great mode of transportation. And we're reporting it on it favorably for full passage by the City Council.
All right, thank you, Councilor Walsh, for that report. Madam Clerk, before we proceed, can you please recognize Councilor Brown and Councilor Hurst?
Councilor Brown,
Present.
present. Councilor Hurst.
Present.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I have two reports of committee this evening. The first report is for the COVID-19 Special Committee that you appointed at the beginning of this year. The committee has continued to meet bi-weekly, both with counselors and members of the administration coordinating the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. And some of the most relevant news relative to the work of the committee and the information being shared there is that cases now, many may have seen, are finally trending down after trending upwards for the last 3 months. Certainly this is due to individuals doing their part to keep the community safe, wearing their masks when they're indoors. And also the fact that our vaccination rate just this week finally hit 50% fully vaccinated here in the city of Springfield, with 57% having at least one dose. So, we're slowly building on these accomplishments. I want to commend and thank the Commissioner of Health and Human Services, Commissioner Helen Calton-Harris, who certainly is at the helm of this response and has been extremely responsive within our committee to answering councilors' questions and taking our suggestions. The other piece of relevant news is that the Youth Council has been appointed as a part of the VAX force, and that is including members under 35 who are working with the Department of Health and Human Services to talk about how best to reach younger individuals and encourage vaccination among that subset of our community, that age group, because that is where the vaccination rates have been the lowest. And we will be actually meeting with that council. We'll be extending an invitation to those members with the COVID-19 response committee at our meeting this coming Tuesday. So not tomorrow, but next week as well. So that is the report from the COVID-19 response committee. And that committee is consistently attended by a number of counselors, including Councilor Hurst, Councilor Edwards, Councilor Whitfield, Councilor Gomez, and Councilor Allen, as well as many other counselors who have come from time to time. The second report of committee is a committee report from the Sustainability and Environment Committee meeting. I convened the committee on September 23rd, and the topic of discussion was a proposal by Eversource in their new capacity as a gas utility to do a pipeline expansion project that may include the city of Springfield. And the purpose of the meeting was to get some initial understanding of what the project may include for the city of Springfield, as we've heard from some residents and environmental organizations that there is a concern about the environmental impact to residents, as well as other concerns. That meeting was attended by the members of the committee, Councilor Hurst, Councilor Davila, and we were also joined by Councilor Gomez and Councilor Whitfield at that meeting. The meeting was primarily included testimony from DPW Director Chris Signoli and City Solicitor Ed Pacula. They provided an overview of what the City Council and the local process would be around pipeline expansion in the city of Springfield, and shared what our relevant authority is. They also are looking into now what the state's relevant authority would be and what types of environmental impact reviews would be completed. And as a follow-up to that meeting, we have confirmed representatives from Eversource to attend another committee meeting on October 14th at 2:30 p.m. to discuss the project in more detail and give us, again, from the environmental perspective, what this could mean for Springfield and what types of reviews we should be conducting. So that's the report from the Committee on Sustainability and Environment as well. I hope members will join us on October 14th to get more info on that issue, as I know residents have definitely been contacting all of us about it.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other reports of committee this evening? Again, I'll ask for any other reports of committee. Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can we please call the roll on accepting the reports?
On accepting the reports, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Counselor Allen, you're muted.
Sorry, I didn't mean to be mute there. Sorry. Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield, absent. Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, the reports have been accepted. Madam Clerk, can you please call the first item before us?
The first item is the fiscal year 21 June revenue versus expenditure report.
All right, if there's anyone present to speak to this, please state your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. President. Patrick Burns, 90 Clement Street, Springfield. Tonight you
I'm sorry,
have-
Mr. Burns. I apologize. Counselor Hurst, did you have a comment? You're muted, Counselor Hurst.
I'm sorry, I'll let Mr. Burns go, and then we can take this vote, and I'll speak after we take this vote.
All right.
Thank you.
Tonight you have the final fiscal year 21 revenue versus expenditure report. We ended the year with a $27 million surplus. As I mentioned in previous meetings, the driving force behind this surplus was a $14 million school transportation turnback. There's a lot of information in this report, and as I mentioned, the Finance Committee, I'm going to recommend that this report is sent to committee and that we can talk further, and I can answer any questions on the report, as there's a lot of information I'd like to share.
All right, thank you, Mr. Burns. Counselor Whitfield.
I just wanted to make a motion to send this item to the Finance Committee.
So,
All right,
second.
All right, there's been a motion on the floor by Counselor Whitfield, properly seconded by Counselor Allen. Madam Clerk, can we please call the roll on sending this to committee?
Oh, can I do it? Because I wasn't
I was going to
called in
say,
yet.
yeah, can you call the roll? Call the roll on you, Counselor Whitfield?
Here,
Okay,
Thank you.
present.
and then I'll make a motion to send it to committee.
Thank you, Counselor. Motion made by Counselor Whitfield, seconded by Counselor Allen. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Edwards on sending item number 1 to committee?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes,
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, this report has been sent to committee. Counselor Hurst, did you? Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Without objection, I'd like to take item number 28 out of order. And, normally I wouldn't do this, but the reasoning behind it is that we heard this special permit on August 16th, where we continued this particular item. We met at a regular meeting on September 13th when it should have been carried over to that agenda, but because of an administrative error, it was not. And then we also were supposed to hear it on September 20th. But again, because of an administrative error, we're not able to hear it on that day. So this petitioner has been waiting for over a month to be heard. And my fear is that if we take him number 28, considering our agenda, that we may not hear him again today. And I know being in business that, an additional 2 weeks can mean a lot. And so we've already costed him close to 2 weeks now. And so I would hate to have him lose another 2 weeks.
Is there any objection to that? Without objection, Madam Clerk, can you please call item 28.
Item number 28 is for a special permit to reestablish a pre-existing non-conforming use of motor vehicle sales and service at the property known as 143 Parker Street.
All right, Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony in favor of this item?
No, we have not.
All right, have we received any testimony in opposition?
No, we have not.
Right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, I'm sorry, give me 1 second here, computer. I apologize, Madam Clerk, can you just emphasize whether this is on for the first night?
For the first hearing,
Yes,
this would require a majority vote of 9 on this item.
yes, but I'm asking, is this the first night it's being heard?
If you would allow,
No.
Mr. President, we heard this on
No,
April
It's
16th.
been continued. yeah.
Okay, perfect, all right, perfect. That's fine. Are there any questions at this time then for the petitioner from the City Council? All right, seeing none, is there any further deliberation that the council would like to have at this time? All right, seeing none, hearing is now closed.
Mr. President, sorry,
Yes.
I was my phone trying to raise my hand. Just wanted to mention, I can't remember whether or not I mentioned this at the previous hearing, but they did receive a favorable recommendation from the Indian Orchard Citizen Council. So I just want to say that on record.
All right, thank you, Councilor Ramos, for that testimony. With that being said, I will now entertain a motion to approve this special permit.
So moved.
All right, the motion has been made by Councilor Hurst. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Edwards. With that, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
On item number 28, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, a special permit is approved. Councilor Edwards, on the reasons to approve, please.
Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of the reasons. I've made a request for me to fill or for Gladys to send me a copy of that. The reasons is what I need, not the staff analysis, but the reasons for the analysis. Is it appropriate for Gladys or Phil just to read it into the motion, into the record?
Yes, that would be appropriate. Madam Clerk, would you have that open at this time?
I am looking for it now.
Bear with us, councilors and please. Attorney Pakula, would you happen to have the reasons? What I will,
I was able to find an old special permit here if you want me to.
yes, please. So if you could read those into the record.
So the reasons, one, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. Number two, the use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Three, adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. And I think the fourth one, which is on this, is that the planning staff analysis will be incorporated into the approval as part of the decision.
Thank you, Phil. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on accepting the reasons as presented?
On accepting the reasons, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, the reasons have been accepted. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 2?
Item number 2 is the August revenue versus expenditure report.
Pass it to you again.
Thank you, Mr. President. Patrick Burns, 90 Clement Street, Springfield. Tonight, you also have the August revenue and expenditure report for fiscal year 22. This is only the second month of the fiscal year, and as I mentioned in July, our expenditures are outpacing our revenue due to the large pension payment of $75 million that was made on July 1st pursuant to our funding schedule.
Thank you, Pat. Are there any questions at this time from the council? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call on the roll to accept the report?
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown? Counselor Brown?
Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown. Counselor Walsh?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, the item is approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call the next item?
The next item is the Duggan Park LWCF grant, with the match required grant in the amount of $750,000.
All right, thank you.
Good
Please
evening,
state your name and
Council.
address.
Patrick Sullivan, 17 Arvesta Street, Springfield, Mass. I'm here for items 3, 6, 7, 17, 19, and 20 tonight. This first item is for a federal grant that we received to start the work at Duggan Park. We had developed a $5 million master plan with the neighborhood over the past 6 years, and we're proud to begin the work that is required to bring this land into full performance for the citizens of Springfield.
Thank you, Pat. Are there any questions at this time from the council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion at this time to approve the grant.
so moved,
second,
Motion made by Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Curran?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
yes,
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the grant is approved. Madam Clerk, the next item.
Next item is the fiscal year 22 Greater Springfield Senior Services Grant in the amount of $87,328.
State your name and address for the record.
Hi, Sandy Federico, 1285 Bradley Road, Springfield. We're requesting acceptance of this grant in order to fund our outreach division at Elder Affairs. It is the first year of a 3-year renewable grant.
Ms. Federico, are there any questions at this time from the council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve this grant.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Allen, seconded by Counselor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
On item number 4, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the grant is approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call out items 5 through 9? If there is no objection, we can call the roll to accept grants at that time.
Item number 5 is fiscal year 22 municipal road safety grant. No match required in the amount of $49,999.79. Item number 6 is a parks donation in the amount of $44,331.94. Item number 7 is a parks donation in the amount of $36,600, no match required. Item number 8 is a Cox Anti-Heroin Task Force Program grant, no match required in the amount of $20,000. And item number 9 is the Thomas J. O'Connor donations in the amount of $1,955.02.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Counselor Davila, did you have a question or comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Is it your intention to take one vote on 5 to 9 together, sir?
Yes.
During the finance meeting, we have requested a representative from SPD to be present on item number 8. I was just wondering if they are not present to give us a quick overview of what this grant is. I believe that the intention was to send it to committee.
Okay, if that is the case, Counselor, if counselors will indulge me, then for the items mentioned, I'm going to remove item 8 and do items 5, 6, 7, and 9, and then we can circle back to 8 if possible.
Without objection.
Thank you. All right, Madam, can you please call the roll on those items with the exception of 8?
On items 5, 6, 7, and 9, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes, your mic is really low, Madam Clerk.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was a yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the grants are approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 8?
Item number 8 is the COPS Anti-Heroin Task Force Program Grant. No match required in the amount of $20,000.
Is there anyone present to speak to that? Counselor Davila?
Yes, Mr. President, I make a motion that this item be sent to the Public Safety Committee.
Hold on, I'm here. Hold on, I'm here.
Yeah, Captain Keenan is here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, please state your name and address for the record.
Withdraw the motion, sir.
Mr. Keenan, can you please state your name and address
Hi.
for the record?
Captain Brian Keenan, 15 Yorktown Drive, Springfield, Mass.
You have the floor.
This grant in question is a grant from the state police and $20,000 no match. The focus of the grant is to provide the Springfield Police Department with all conjunction with the Massachusetts State Police, specifically targeting heroin trafficking organizations in the city of Springfield. It's at no cost to the city, and it allows us to expand what we do in higher end narcotics investigation.
All right. Thank you. Officer Councilor Davila, did you have a follow-up?
I do, but I yield to Councilor Whitfield first.
Councilor Whitfield?
Okay, when you say expand what you do, Sergeant or Captain?
Captain,
Captain Keenan, what do you do currently?
with this grant council, we will work in conjunction with the state police on joint investigation. So currently we have one officer assigned to that task force who works in conjunction with them. This would allow other officers to work in conjunction with the state police on bigger and more investigations.
More investigations?
Yeah, what this group does, it targets one of the high level drug traffickers that deal drugs in Springfield.
Okay, does it target a specific area?
No, ma'am.
No, it's just City of Springfield?
City of Springfield, but however, with our state partners, we can go wherever it takes us. Sometimes these investigations can take you to Lawrence, they can take you all over the state, because it's a higher end drug trafficking organizations will be the focus of this.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Counselor.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Davila?
Thank you, Mr. President. Good evening, Captain. Thank you for being here. Indeed, opioid and narcotics is a serious problem in our city and below our state. But I'm a little confused in terms of this, because my understanding is that the SPD disbanded the narcotics unit.
Correct. What we have is the Firearms Investigation Unit. Under the auspices of the Firearms Investigation Unit, we focus on firearms as the primary goal. However, in firearms investigations also vary, where there's drugs, there's guns. So we also do narcotics investigations too, with the focus being guns. We have officers that are detailed to specific task force that specifically deal with narcotics. And this is one of them, the Commonwealth Interstate. Go ahead, sorry, Counselor.
No. So basically, it's a different approach now. We are looking at where there's narcotics, there's guns. I agree with you, and vice versa. Where there's illegal guns, it's likely to be some sort of illegal activity. But so this is going to be working jointly with SPD. Are these going to be the narcotics officers joining them, or other officers?
No. So this is what it is.
I'm sorry, with state police.
This is a task force of officers, state police, federal law enforcement, and other local law enforcement. Our officers work with them to target drug trafficking organizations in the city of Springfield. Right. Now, sometimes, Counselor, the same guy who might deal, the same organization that deals in Springfield may also be in Holyoke or West Springfield. So this group is able to really combat all of that.
Right. So these officers will come from within the
Springfield Police Department. Yes. Yes, they will.
Okay. Now, my final question is: this a grant, small as it may be, is that made towards overtime or equipment, or?
It's specifically overtime.
Specifically overtime. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you, Captain. Thank you for appearing before us today.
Thanks, Counselor.
Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Letterman, followed by Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. Captain, thank you for being here short notice. We appreciate it. And, that was my primary concern about wanting to have a better understanding of whether this was going after high level trafficking operation, or if this was more about street level and individuals who may be struggling with addiction. So it sounds like this is more about high level traffickers, individuals, moving large amounts. Is that an accurate understanding?
100%.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And certainly, we've been wanting to work in conjunction with Health and Human Services so that, individuals on the street who may be not involved in that trafficking situation, but just involved in struggling with their own addiction. Certainly, we've been able to work hand in hand in trying to connect those individuals with the resources they need. So appreciate your clarification here this evening.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I want to thank you, Captain, for being here. And I want to thank you for all the work that you do. This drug situation has been a big issue, and it's hit us severely. I appreciate the effort. Where I would just still want to know, as far as with the other agencies, I'd like to be able to. Are they willing to at least meet with us a little bit afterwards? I mean, I'd like to know some of these states and federal guys, because they are coming into our city, working with our police force. It just seems sometimes as a disconnect. I do understand you guys, I know you guys know what you're doing, but I would like to at least at some point be able to know some of the other agencies, just come and say hi if they could.
Sure.
Would that be something they could do?
I can tell you, Counselor, the commander of that unit is Detective Lieutenant Kevin O'Toole. And Lieutenant O'Toole is grew up in Springfield, went to school in Springfield, was a Springfield police officer prior to being a Mass State Trooper. And I believe some of the other troopers assigned to that are former Springfield officers. Don't quote me, but Springfield residents as well. But that's something we can certainly do with some of the people. Some other ones, their identity may have to be what it is because of the sensitive nature of the work. But I'm sure if the council wanted to have an executive meeting with the commander of the unit, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yes, because my thing is I want to do it collaborating and working together hand in foot to make Springfield residents safer. And just like my colleague Councilman Letterman has stated, there's a lot of people who suffer from addiction, and sometimes the approach has to be catered in order not to drastically impact some people, our loved ones who might suffer from addiction. So I'm glad to hear that it is someone from Springfield and on the state end, and I just would definitely love to get a chance to meet some of the guys. Thank you.
Sure, I'll send you an email tomorrow. We'll see if we can set something up.
Thank you, Captain. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilor Brown and Captain. Are there any other comments at this time? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on approving the grant?
On approving the grant, Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kern?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams?
Yes, the grant is approved. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is item number 10, which is an order approving the CPC recommendation to fund the East Springfield Library Outdoor Reading Room.
All right, I believe this was sent to committee our last meeting. Is there anyone present to speak to this?
Counselor Fenton was.
Which item was this, Mr. President?
This was
Item 10.
Item number 10. CPC recommendation to fund the East Springfield Library Outdoor Reading Room.
Oh, thought this was staying in committee, but I'll leave that to Counselor Whitfield. It's our committee.
Counselor Whitfield.
Oh, yes. We would like to leave that in committee. Sorry
All
about
right.
that.
All right. Thank you. So with that, Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is an order approving the CPC recommendation for the Hotel Rainville and Newport Sheriff's Departments.
Mr. President, point of order.
I can't hear. That's why.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you at all.
Yeah, Madam Clerk, if you can just, it might be a speaker issue, or I don't know if your volume's
How about now?
Slightly better.
slightly better, yes.
Change my settings.
Would you be able to change device perhaps?
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna open my laptop. Give me 1 second. Is that better?
Yes, I think that's a little better.
Okay,
Still muted.
Yeah, if you could just speak maybe perhaps a little louder.
sure. So item number 11 is an order approving the CPC recommendation to fund the Hotel Rainville and Newcourt Terrace Apartments.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilor Whitfield, was this also in committee?
Sorry, no, if this is the Hotel Ramville, can you just say yes?
Yes.
Okay, no, we were gonna, move forward with those.
Okay, all right. So with that, I will pass this to anyone present to speak to this item.
Well, this is Bob McCarroll, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, and I live at 96 Elliott Street. This is a recommendation of $250,000 to help wayfinders in renovating 4 historic buildings on Byer Street, which already are affordable housing, and this $15 million renovation will allow the units to continue as 89 units of affordable housing. The CPA recommendation is $250,000, and I believe there are representatives from Wayfinders here if you have questions that I can answer.
I really appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. McCarroll. Are there any questions at this time from the council? Councilor Brown.
Are these building, are there people who live in any of these buildings? Are gonna, I'm just curious.
So the buildings are indeed occupied. I would defer to James Linfield to talk, or someone from Wayfinders to talk about how the renovations will occur, given that the units are primarily occupied.
Okay, because my main question also, just why I asked, is because I just found out in my area they did renovate an actual building and they had occupants there, and now the rent is going up. I just want to make sure that that doesn't occur and everything is. I don't know if that's something you guys can speak of. Is everything still, as far as the tenants there, going to be the same?
There's a representative from Wayfinders. Please state your name for the record.
This is Keith Ferry, President and CEO of Wayfinders. And yes, no, there will be no changes to rents here. These projects are affordable, regulated, affordable, subsidized housing and remain so.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mr. President.
Great, thank you, Councilor Brown and Mr. Ferry. Councilor Ramos.
Mr. President, thank you. Just wanted to say for the councilors that were unable to attend the subcommittee meeting, just wanted to mention that because I was the one who made the motion to send this item to committee, all of my concerns have been addressed. For this particular item, the developer has committed to include some wage step language in their contract, which will alleviate some of my concerns regarding the prospect of giving taxpayer funds to a project that could potentially go to a contractor that participates in wage step. And so because that language is going to be in the contract, that does address my concern. And so I'm ready to support this tonight. However, moving forward, I will be having a conversation. I will be encouraging my colleagues to support creating a policy, a blanket policy for all CPA petitioners that will require them to have similar language in their contracts, so that we're not giving taxpayer funds again, to companies that are going to take advantage of workers. So I'm ready to move forward, and I support this item tonight. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilor Ramos. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I myself am equally satisfied with this project. I think it will be good for the city, it will be good for housing market here in the city. And so I'm ready to move forward and support this project. But I also want to echo that, one, I'm also satisfied with the Councilor Ramos to say about the wage theft, that they will take every measure to ensure that that does not happen. But they're also moving forward, like it was just stated, we should look at a comprehensive policy, blanket policy, as to how public money is used in relation to not only wage theft, but prevailing wage, as I believe that local jobs should stay here in Springfield. Thank you, Mr. President. I have to say that I am thrilled this project and happy to support it. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Are there any other questions or comments from the council? And I will ask any other questions. Seeing none, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the order.
So moved.
Second. There's been a motion made by Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on approving the order?
Approving the order, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the order is approved. Madam Clerk, the next item, please.
The next item is an order approving CPC recommendation to fund the historic renovation of 2612 Main Street.
Mr. Mercaro, if you'd like to just give a synopsis of this.
Thank you, Council President Williams. So this is an early 20th century apartment building in the Memorial Square neighborhood on the corner of Main Street and Arch Street. It contains 12 units. It has been vacant and severely deteriorated for several years. It is now owned by the city. It was tax foreclosed some years ago. I think the city put it out for request for proposal and gave it to a developer who was not able to perform, and has in the past year put it out again for request for proposals. And the proposal came in from Whitman Properties, and they are planning to renovate it for 12 units of housing. It's a several $million project, and we are recommending $250,000 of CPA money. I believe in their budget, they're also looking for HDIP funding at some point from the city.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mercaro. Councilor Ramos.
Mr. President, do we know if the petitioner is here at this meeting?
If the petitioner is present, can you please state your name and address for the record? Again, I will ask if the petitioner is present. So, Councilor Ramos, it appears there is no petitioner present for this.
Because the developer is not present, Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion that this thing go back to committee so that we can have the same conversation with this developer that we had with Wayfinders. I think it's important to understand his commitment to preventing wage theft on such a large project, particularly because they are receiving the maximum amount of money from CPA. We want to make sure that we're protecting taxpayer money. So I'm going to make a motion that this go back to committee, Mr. President.
All right, there's been a motion on the floor and properly seconded by Councilor Brown. Councilor Letterman on the motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I agree and appreciate Councilor Ramos in terms of following up with this petitioner as well. I think we should be consistent. I was just going to recommend that we perhaps consider simply continuing the item to the following agenda. That way it doesn't necessarily have to appear at another committee meeting, because I know we had sort of made some assurances to that developer that we would try to move it through a little more swiftly, given that they would be applying for some other funding sources. And I'm confident that we'll be able to secure the same commitment from them, but this way it can just appear on our next agenda. And, with Councilor Ramos's report, we might be able to move it forward if that's acceptable.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. We'll follow up with that. Councilor Gomez, followed by Councilor Davila on the motion, please.
Definitely, I will want to see this building done because this is a really sore spot right in the middle of my ward, and it needs to be taken care of as soon as we can put the pieces together. Because, like I say, it's a very sore spot to be looked at in my ward.
Thank you, Councilor Gomez. Councilor Davila.
I was just gonna thank you, Mr. President. I agree. This property has been, I'm gonna dare to say that at least 10 years been vacant, and it's a horrible eyesore, and it definitely needs to be done. But I have to say that going to committee or continuing, I wonder why they're not here. If this is an important project for them, they should be here. If assurances were given, I not by me, and so. That's why I'm thinking that we should send this to committee just to really air it out. I'm concerned they are not here. Thank you.
Counselor, they were notified several times as
Yeah,
all of the
yeah,
applicants.
that's even more reason. I
Point of
think
order.
the committee-
Point of order, please. I would just ask that individuals not speak unless properly recognized to maintain order. Thank you.
Yeah, and so that if I may just respond, Mr. President, I thank you, Ms. Lee, and to me, that's even more the reason why I should go to committee. If they have a timeline, that's fine, but I work on the people's timeline. I don't work on developers' timeline. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Brown on the motion, please, to send to committee. I mean, to send to committee, I apologize.
Mr. President, thank you, Mr. President. My question, if possible, would be kind of to the actual council, the ward councilor, to know his feelings. Did the actual petitioner reach out to him, to the neighborhood councils? I would just kind of like want to hear his opinion on the project itself. Has he talked to the petitioner at all?
Councilor Brown, I'd like to dispose of the motion first, and then we can circle back with that.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to ask before we send it to committee, was the petitioner at the first hearing? So we've never spoken to him?
I don't believe.
Never shown up?
He was at the first meeting.
Ms. Lee, feel free to provide some context on that.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry, Counselor. I was thinking you meant earlier this evening. Yes, the petitioner was at the very first meeting in September. Yes.
In September, okay. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Ramos, followed by Councilor Letterman.
I'd like to amend my motion to committee and restate the motion to continue this item, Mr. President.
All right. Councilor Letterman, is the motion or the proper? Okay.
I'm all set, Mr. President. Thank you.
Second. Right, there's been a motion made by Councilor Ramos, properly seconded by Councilor Edwards to continue the item rather than send it to committee. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on that?
On continuing item number 12, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the item has been continued. Madam Clerk, or rather, let me say councilors, with no objection, I realize that there are still CPC items a little further down in our agenda, so I would like to take items number 23 and 24 out of order so we can wrap up the CPC recommendations, please. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 23?
Item number 23 is an order approving CPC recommendation to fund the Westminster Street Playground Phase 2.
Okay, so this is Bob McCarroll again, the chair of the Community Preservation Committee, 96 Elliott Street. The City Council has already authorized the creation of the Westminster Street Playground. Do I have the right one? Is it Westminster or Magazine?
Westminster.
Westminster, Karen. Yeah, Karen, put up Westminster. Thank you. Which is we funded it a couple of years ago. It is to create a small children's playground on a vacant tax foreclosed lot in the McKnight neighborhood. The project was funded with CPA money for about $230,000. And because of COVID, and everyone knows the cost of equipment and supplies has gone up because of COVID, the neighborhood and the park department returned to us this past year saying that they needed an additional funds of $30,000 to cover the project. And of course, we think it's a fabulous project and are recommending it to you for $30,000 of additional funding.
And I would just add, it's Pat Sullivan speaking, councilors. The project's roughly 95% complete. We're just waiting on that water tap to be completed by the water sewer department. And I would agree with Bob. It's turned out beautiful. I would encourage everyone to walk by, and we're hopeful in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we're going to be having a ribbon cutting at this beautiful new neighborhood park.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Councilor Brown.
I definitely want to thank everyone who worked on the project. I was there for the first phase with Councilman Letterman, and it's a beautiful park. The neighbors and everyone in the community, they're wondering when it's going to be open. I told them to be patient. So I want to thank you guys for the work that you've done on it. It's beautiful. And I just know everyone is really impatient. They want to know when you guys going to get it open. So great job, though. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo some of Councilor Brown's statements and thank the CPC for their understanding as well with the impact of COVID on the cost of everything. It really has been an incredible project, and it's had multiple funding sources as well, thanks to very generous contributions from Pride Stores and Bob Bolduc, as well as the Kaboom Foundation. And as part of the Kaboom Foundation grant, Councilor Brown and I got to participate in the Community Build Day. It had a requirement that there be a day where the community came together to help do some of the installation, which was really a great morning in the McKnight neighborhood. So everyone's looking forward to seeing it open. And I think it can serve really as an excellent model for other neighborhoods, other communities with some of these smaller non-buildable lots to be able to put something together that benefits and enhances the community. So looking forward to seeing this move forward.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other questions or comments before the council at this time? Great, seeing none, at this time I will entertain a motion to approve the order.
So be it.
Motion made by Councilor Gomez,
Second.
seconded by Councilor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Williams.
Yes, the order is approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 24?
Item number 24 is an order approving CPC recommendation to fund the Classical High facade restoration.
McCarroll.
So this is Bob McCarroll, Chair of the Community Preservation Committee, again, 96 Elliott Street. As everyone knows, Classical High School is one of the major historic buildings along State Street. It is now a condominium association, and they have requested some funds to help improve the facade that faces State Street in terms of pointing and cleaning. And we are recommending $50,000 toward this activity.
Thank you, Mr. McCarroll. Are there any questions or comments from the council at this time? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the order.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Allen, seconded by Councilor Whitfield. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Walsh. Counselor Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the order is approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 13?
Without objection, Counselor, I would like to take item number 26 out of order. It's the Trinity House project, and Lisa was on here very late and did not get to be heard at all last session. And so I would just like to dispose of this item.
All right, without objection, Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 26?
Item number 26 is the Unfin House, which is 51-53 Bay Street.
All right, this ordinance is on for first step. Is there anyone present to speak to this? Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, hi. I'm Lisa Goodman, and I am the funds developer and co-chairperson for the Ockman Trinity House renovation project, 5153 Bay Street. It is actually owned by Holy Trinity Church, 57 Bay Street, right next door, where the pastor is JP Morgan Jr.
Great, thank you, Ms. Goodman. Are there any questions or comments from the council at this time? Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Not so much a question, but I just wanted to thank Lisa and the church for their efforts to restore this building. This is right down the street from my home, and it really is a very unique and cool building that has been vacant for far too long. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have planned there and seeing that area sort of reactivated on Bay Street.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Councilor Brown.
I want to thank JP Morgan and his family. They're well-known ministers, great man of God. This is a great project, and I'm glad that they're finally doing something with that eyesore. But I definitely appreciate the work that you've done, and look forward to hearing him sing again. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Councilor Brown. Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time? Right, seeing none, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the first step of this ordinance.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Whitfield, seconded by Councilor Allen. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on passing first step?
Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the ordinance has passed first step. Thank you, Ms. Goodman, for joining us. Madam Clerk, please call item number 13.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. I apologize, Councilor Williams. If you could just, again, my name is Alvin Allen. I'm Principal Planner with the Office of Plan and Economic Development. I just wanted to say, in a matter of fairness, if we could also take 25 and 27 out of order, as they all waited and were not heard at the previous meeting.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Allen. Councilor Walsh, did you have a?
Yes, I did, but it was on item number 13, so I can wait to bring that again.
All right, thank you. So with that, Mr. Allen, yeah, I can honor your request and we can, Madam Clerk, can you please call the first item that Mr. Allen mentioned?
Item number 25 is the Elias Brookings.
All right, and councilors, this is on for second and third step. So if there's anyone present to speak to this, please get your name and address for the record.
Hi, this is Tom Kegelman, Home
Thank
City
you.
Development.
Please state your address.
261 Oak Grove Avenue, Springfield. I wanted to, since we have others on staff who were waiting to be told that we were just about to get to this item. They are hopefully going to join us soon, but this is a request from the city in order to obtain the CPA money for the Brookings School to have it determined as a historic site. And maybe Mr. McCarroll can speak to the specific reasons for that.
Thank you, Mr. Kugelman. Mr. McCarroll, would you like the floor?
Sure. Once again, Bob McCarroll, 96 Elliott Street. Happy to speak on it. You know, community development, community preservation, one of the things that we can assist is in historic resources. And the committee feels very strongly that if we're giving money to fix the historic resource, we need to know that that historic resource is protected in the future. So we require all of our applicants to become, if they're not already part of a local historic district, to become part of a historic district so that in the future, any exterior changes get reviewed by the Springfield Historical Commission.
Right. Thank you, Mr. McCarroll. Are there any questions or comments from the council at this time? All right, seeing none, I will now entertain a motion to approve second and third step of this ordinance.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Whitfield, I believe that was. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Counselor Gomez. Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the ordinance is approved. Councilors, can I please also entertain a motion to invoke 22C and take these items up in one step?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Allen. Madam Clerk, the roll, please, and invoking 22C.
And invoking 22C, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, thank you, counselors. Madam Clerk, I believe the next item that Mr. Allen had alluded to was item number 27.
Item number 27 is an amendment to Chapter 45, Article 2 of the Historic Districts, Section 45-5.
All right, counselors, this is ordinance is on for first step. Is there anyone present to speak to this? Please state your name and address for the record.
So
Again,
this is Bob McCarroll. I don't think anyone from the Springfield Museums is here tonight, but once again, this is a request that's being driven by CPA funding. Interestingly, when City Council in 1972 created the very first local historic district in Springfield, they exempted from the controls of the commission any properties owned by the Springfield Museums and Library Association, and any properties owned by the Roman Catholic Bishop. Because the Community Preservation Committee wants to make sure any of the projects that we help now are protected on the outside in the future, we have been requiring Springfield Museums to relinquish their exemptions as they have received money to support their buildings. So a couple of years ago, we recommended and City Council approved money to help the Science Museum, and the museums petitioned to remove the exemption they have from the Science Museum. And last year, we recommended and Council approved money to help do exterior restoration at the Smith Museum, and the museums are now moving forward with a request to remove that exemption.
right, thank you, Mr. McCarroll. Are there any questions from the council at this time? Right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the first step of the ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Woodfield, seconded by Councilor Walsh. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the ordinance has passed first step. Now, Madam Clerk, I believe we can go back to number 13, item number 13.
Item number 13 is an order accepting an easement from American International College for certain real property on State Street for the city's bike share program.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I failed to mention that when I gave my committee report where we supported this, that the easement is granted at no cost to the city.
Right. Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Do councilors have any remaining questions on this item? Councilor Letterman?
Thank you, Mr. President. I did want to follow up on one other point that was addressed during the committee meeting. I know that I believe Councilor Whitfield had asked about the sanitation of the bikes themselves, and we did receive a representation from a representative of the bike share company through the city employee that was giving testimony at the committee meeting that they are sanitized at the end of the day because they have to be sort of reshuffled around the city and put back into their respective corners for the next day. So they do receive a sanitation at the end of the day.
Councilor Letterman, are there any other?
Thank you, Counselor.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Right, seeing none. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. At this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the order.
Motion to approve the order.
All right, motion has been made by Councilor Walsh, seconded by Councilor Edwards. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Counselor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Kern.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the order is approved. And councilors, what I'll do is at the conclusion of these orders before the election warrant, I will have a call for a collective motion to suspend Rule 19. So with that, Madam Clerk, can you please call the next item before us?
The next item is the transfer of stabilization reserve to the Law Department settlement account in the amount of $5 million.
Right, Attorney Pakula.
Muted, attorney.
No, there we go. Thank you, Mr. President. This matter was heard previously in the Finance Committee, been the subject of some executive sessions that we have been going on. By way of background, as you know, the Law Department has been involved with ongoing negotiations with the Department of Justice with regard to a potential settlement agreement. And we believe that a resolution of the DOJ case can occur in the near future. As you know, that DOJ matter has involved a number of other pending lawsuits that the city is faced with involving police misconduct. Many of them very significant and many of them exposing the city to a risk of liability for some potentially large verdicts. The strategy of the Law Department is to come before you and request a pool of money so that we can use that pool to attempt to negotiate settlements in a mediation session to avoid trial, to avoid liability, and to cut back on the exposure that we believe we are facing on some of these major cases. The Law Department to date has reviewed these cases extensively, much in the same manner that an insurance company reviews its cases and tries to assess the risk. The $5 million would be a fraction or a smaller portion of what we feel is our potential exposure. Feel our exposure is much greater for these many cases that are pending. We don't know that we'll be successful in settling all these cases, but if we do, it's a chance to put some of these major cases behind us. It's a chance to put our best foot forward, to turn the page on some of the past misconduct that has been at issue. Because if we have a settlement with the DOJ, we will have the tools to cut back on future liability. The settlement in and of itself does not protect us from liability, but the reforms in that settlement agreement, which includes increased supervision, increased accountability, increased training, and improved disciplinary measures, will be the items that we will be implementing and will protect us from future lawsuits. Once we have all of those in place, and there's a timeline that will put those things in place, and roughly anywhere from 6 months to 18 months, these things will all be put in. We should have a lot less of these cases in the future. So as our strategy to try to get rid of them now, Now is a time when there has been quite a backlog. As you know, there hasn't been trials. Things have been piling up, and we are now really getting inundated with everyone wanting to move forward with cases and judges wanting to move cases as well. This will give us a chance to show the courts that we're working in good faith to resolve these matters, and to put our best foot forward with the reforms that are going to be on the table with the DOJ case. In the Finance Committee subcommittee meeting, there were some questions about what we've paid in the past on cases, and Attorney D'Souza was able to gather some of that information during the break between the subcommittee and the current meeting, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer some of your questions on that. She can speak to those that you might have. The largest chunk you'll see comes from one case. You might remember the Shand case, where the jury came back and awarded $27 million. We were able to settle the case, or $6.5 million, but I think that's roughly 2/3 of what we've paid over the past 5 years. So essentially, this is part of a strategy to cut back on our liability as we move forward. And I think that it's worthwhile in pursuing. We haven't tried something like this before. As you know, we typically, cases come before you one by one as we can reach a settlement or as we get a judgment against us. But we're hoping to alleviate some of the buildup of cases, and as I said, to take advantage of our circumstances to try to reduce our liability that we would likely be facing from jury verdicts.
Thank you, Attorney Pakula. Counselor Allen, I'll turn it to you.
Thanks, Mr. President. Thanks, Attorney Pakula. A couple of questions on that, and I know I've heard the rationale for doing this a couple times, and I'm getting closer to understanding it, but I'm going to ask a couple questions. One is, why do you think this improves our ability to negotiate by having a lump sum of money that's already been approved ahead of time?
Well, you know, we face a lot of skepticism when we go to court and try to mediate from the judges and from the parties, because our authority is very small. As you know, our budgets on an annual basis are well under $200,000, and that has been working against us lately. In particular, quite frankly, lots of times neither the plaintiffs nor the judges want to take us seriously, and they're anxious to get in front of a jury as opposed to seeing if we can work out a settlement. So number one, we want to create some atmosphere where we have a certain pool of money, and we have people more anxious to come to the table, as opposed, and this will not work on all these cases. On some of these cases, no matter what we offer, you're going to find people saying, I want a trial, and I don't care what you're going to offer. But we believe the settled cases are the best way to prevent exposure, particularly when you look at the atmosphere that we are in, and juries are awarding, $27 million on one case. That is a wake-up call to everyone to say, if there's a chance to resolve a case through settlement, then let's try to do that. But let's not try to go to the table with nothing in our pocket. Let's be there in an effort to show we're serious about this, and now's the time to get it done.
Okay, thanks for that. Two similar questions. you know, many people, all of us, well, not many people, all of us are concerned about police misconduct. And could you just separate the hard thing it is to approve, you know, millions of dollars to pay for police misconduct from the actual police reform? This is not, you know, this is not the police reform. The police reform initiatives will be coming out of the DOJ report. Am I right on that? Or other places, but not here?
Yes, the reforms are coming from the legislation that's recently passed at the state level, the settlement that we're working on with the DOJ, and any federal reforms. And I can report to you that we're ahead of the curve on this, that we're not the only community struggling with these issues, but, you know, we are, you know, working with the DOJ. I said we're very close to having an agreement. That'll be a settlement agreement that'll make the city much better off for everyone. Attorney D'Souza, I think, can speak to you more because she's had the most recent experiences, both in front of the jury and in front of the mediators. And she knows what she's been there when the mediators, you know, kind of look at us and don't take us as serious as we want to be taken when we come to try to settle a case. So, Attorney D'Souza, can you talk a little bit about the benefits of trying to settle now?
Certainly.
Please state your address for the record, please.
Yes, Lisa D'Souza, Deputy City Solicitor, and my address is 69 Belvedere Street in Springfield, Massachusetts. As Attorney Pikula already mentioned, we have had a lot of jury verdicts against us in the last few years relative to police misconduct cases. And as he also mentioned at the break, I did look at the cases that we have paid relative only to police misconduct since January of 2016. And it totals $9,900,500. And of that, more than 2/3, just shy of 2/3, 6.5 million was for the one case, the Shand case. However, we've had other jury verdicts during that time that were substantially larger than we would have thought. And part of that is driven by the cost of litigation and the fact that if a plaintiff wins a civil rights case, they're entitled to attorney's fees and costs. And part of it is that, you know, there's a day of reckoning upon us, and juries that might have discounted people's claims of misconduct are less likely to do that. And there's been a real recognition of a need to compensate people who have been wronged and who prove they have been wronged in front of a jury when they interacted with our police. And that's just the reality of doing this type of litigation in 2021. So as to mediation, I frequently go to mediation with a range in our minds of what it's going to be worth, but have not yet come to get authority from the council. It has been the practice of the law department to wait until we have an agreed settlement amount before we come for authority. And Attorney Pikula is absolutely right. The plaintiff's lawyers are extremely frustrated with that. They, believe that we should come with authority. And the mediators that we've run in front of, both federal mediators at the local level and at the First Circuit, have expressed frustration that we're not at the table with the authority to make a binding settlement. And instead, it's delayed by several months while we go through the process of bringing it first internally and then to this council for approval. So even beyond that, we are also facing a lot of cases in a very short period of time. I was really struck by the fact when I went back and did this exercise of looking at what we've settled or paid since 2016. In calendar year 2020, we didn't make one payment on a police misconduct case. And that was because the courts were virtually shut down. So there was no impetus to settle these cases. We were all quarantining and the courts were shut and things just didn't move forward. But right now, we have a lot of cases that are at the point where we are either going to have to settle them or really, pivot and start getting ready for trial. And these are cases that we feel absolutely we have exposure on, and we would like to be able to go to mediation in good faith and make good faith offers to settle cases where we have made a determination in our best professional judgment that liability is reasonably clear.
Thank you. Good explanation. My last line of questioning is in the financial area. We have a role on the council as fiscal oversight for the city. And we don't usually do that by giving people a pot of money, without knowing how it's necessarily, we know in a macro level how it's going to get spent, but not on a one-by-one basis. So it's an unorthodox request, but I understand the situation you're in. How would you propose to monitor, control, report on the payments that are being made through the finance department to us, et cetera, so that we were able to keep tabs on what was going on?
I think we could, go ahead.
I would be happy to report the cases on an ongoing basis through our finance department. And if you want me to come back and report after settlements are reached, every month or every 2 months or every 3 months, as often as necessary, I'd be more than happy to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you. I defer, defer to anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Allen, Councilor Whitfield, but followed by Councilor Brown.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to echo something that you said in the Finance Committee meeting, and that Councilor Allen also repeated, that these are hard asks for us to approve and review. So we've been here before. We've been asked to approve a substantial amount of money to either come from the reserves or free cash to pay for police misconduct. And it's sad that we have to be here again to hear the clean slate story. I don't know that is true until true police reform really happens and officers are truly held accountable for their actions. And holding officers accountable really isn't paying for their, I'm not even gonna call them mistakes, for paying for what they're intentionally doing out here, because it's police misconduct. So it's really, really hard to approve that when we have so many other issues that taxpayer money could be going to. Just to name a few, I've said it before, I'm saying it again for the edification of my colleagues that haven't attended the finance meetings. We have housing insecurity, we have opioid problems, we have mental health, we have gun violence in the city of Springfield. We just have things that are happening that taxpayers' money should be used for. Police misconduct should not be one. It's just really sad that we're here again to approve funding to pay for police misconduct. And I'm going to reiterate that I'm not talking about all police. So let's not go back and say, oh, we don't like police, but there are bad police and we have to admit it, and we have to tell the truth, and we have to speak truth to power. We cannot keep sugarcoating this issue. We cannot keep hiding behind what's happening in the Springfield Police Department. We have a problem. Not only is police misconduct a problem, but there is structural racism that happens in the police department, whether people want to admit it or not. It's a problem that needs to be addressed. And I know that these topics are hard. They are hard to talk about. They are hard to speak to, but we have to learn to do it. And that's the only way that we're going to move this city forward. And so I want to say to the finance department, to the administration, when we talk about this free cash that's available and putting it back into the reserves to cover the 6.5 million that we took out the last time to cover police misconduct. I want to see some of these funds going back to the community and not just for city services, not just to the Parks Department and not just to DPW. I'm talking about real services that are going to help the community with what is going on in the community, because this is taxpayer money. And as Councilor Allen has mentioned, I forgot what he mentioned, guys. I'm losing my my thought process. Oh, we have a fiduciary responsibility. We have a fiduciary responsibility to protect our taxpayers and our residents in the city of Springfield, and to just make sure that the least amount of damage is done. And so that's why I'm supporting this transfer, to protect our residents, not for any other reason besides that, because we don't want, to have to pay out more of the taxpayer money. And so that's the reason that I support this transfer. I did want to say, though, when I worked in the finance department, it was told to me, because I did have the law budget, right? And so it was told to me that we put the least amount in the budget to protect the city from, paying out more of a liability. So that thought process has changed.
Well, it's the climate. The climate we're in, that strategy, is no longer acceptable, at least on a temporary basis. Hopefully, we can get back there and we can say to you, we don't need you to give us any more money. But, we used to have quite a lot more in our budget and we wouldn't come before you. But we cut back on that amount to give greater oversight as to how the money was being spent and to provide greater transparency onto all of these cases. As I said, at this point, the process is working against us, and we need to find ways to work with the process, as Attorney D'Souza said. And so we think this is a good strategy so that we are not focused on these large amounts of money, but rather we'll be focused on the reforms that we're going to be counting on to protect us as we go forward.
And the systems or the strategies are working against us because of the issues of police misconduct that are now being highlighted because of cell phone access with cameras and social medias. We see that these police misconduct cases are real. And that's why I think that the system and the structures are working against us. But for someone like me, the systems and the structures are working for us. Because it's bringing all this to light. And so I kind of want to change that terminology and say it's causing us to do better and be better when it comes to. That's
definitely part of it. But another part of it, as Attorney D'Souza noted, the courts have been closed and they're just reopening. And now that there's this rush to get cases going, everyone wants to get their cases done. And at the same time, it can be a little overwhelming to our internal systems as well, as we try to just process the cases through the normal. We're going to be spending money for experts. We're going to be spending money for outside attorneys. And again, those are parts of the costs that we're looking to avoid here.
And then finally, I wanted to speak to Attorney D'Souza. You said that your spreadsheet goes back to 2016. My spreadsheet goes back to 2010. And back in 2010, we paid about $9.4 million or $9 million in cases. And so that's from 2010 to 2019. So if you include the 6.6 million, that will bring us up to about 15 million.
Yes.
In the past 10, 11 years.
And there's been, in 2021, we've paid out about 7.5 million. I'm trying to do math in my head, which is not a strong suit for me. I'll be the first to admit. But I think, yeah, about almost 7, well, about 7 million in 2021.
So easily, we're heading to $20 million over 10, 11 years in police misconduct. And we can certainly do better and do much better with that money that's being spent on police misconduct. And so, whatever we can do to help our community in other ways with this free cash. And I hope that Pat is on here as well, and the finance team is getting this message. That is what I'm going to encourage. And we also need to really think about police reform when we get articles that say, oh, police reform is making it harder. Oh, police reform is so difficult. Oh, but what we have been doing has not been working. And so it can't be that hard to make a change for the better, because what we have been doing have not been working. And I will yield.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Brown, followed by Councilor Gomez. Councilor Brown, you're muted. With that, we'll go with Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Councilor Gomez, I'm sorry if you would just indulge.
No problem.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. I had a question for Ed. So basically, these are fundings in order for us to settle without going through the actual court process.
No, these are all in suit. We're going through the court process. It's to avoid having a jury award more money. It's an attempt to try to settle before we get to the actual trial.
Yes, I understand that. Where that scares me, Ed, honestly, I'm a cop supporter. My dad's a cop, retired cop. I love the police. I love everyone. Where it scares me with the other side of the table is that individuals where I live, based on Corona, based on, COVID, based on the different situations in their life, you might, and if they have a $7 million case, they might settle for $50,000. That's unfair and that's unjust. I think that they should be able to go through their due process. I want them to go through the jury process. I want to see what they say we owe them. So that would alleviate that. Am I correct?
Absolutely. But I mean, the issue is you have a duty to preserve the public fiscal reserves, and we can't just give it away. We need to respect people's rights, that if they want a jury trial, they are entitled to a jury trial. Mm-hmm. But it's our job to try to settle for a fair and reasonable amount, and to find some compromise so that we don't pay as much out as we might be in total exposure.
And based on the epidemic is what I'm saying, where I am at. Based on the epidemic, it would be quite easy for an individual who might have a case, if they went through their due diligence and the ability to go through the court system, for them to sit there and get what they truly should be getting. And based on my vote, I'm going to say, hey, you know what? Let's give these guys whatever kind of money you want to call them, money to settle money. Like, hey, guys, I know, you got the lights, you got your kids, you got everything, but I got all this to start, go to court. Here go $300,000. But they might have really been able to get $3 million. Is that what you're asking us to do?
Yes, I want to pay $300,000 instead of $3 million. Yes.
Okay, that's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Brown. Councilor Gomez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm having a lot of issues with this. First, where's the training and prevention? We have in the police force quite a few officers suffering of combat PTSD. And let me tell you, I can talk to you about combat PTSD that I've been carrying for 55 years. And these individuals keep that to themselves because they don't want to lose their jobs or whatever might be the situation if they find out that they have PTSD. But everybody in the force knows that they are combat veterans. And let me tell you, some of them have come to my office after they're getting close to retirement to put in for their PTSD. And I do not know if we are trained in doing any prevention and what's going to stop these individuals from continuing and us from every year or 2 years having to approve another pot of monies, $5-6 million again, to continue to do what we are saying that we're going to do now. We need to prevent, we need to find out if these individuals are time bombs, carrying weapons and ready to strike at any moment. And what is happening to these individuals? Are they staying in the force after they commit this incidents? Here's where we need a police commission. I remember us having police commission because there's a lot of protection that goes in the force when situations like this happen. And it's not easy, and throwing money in water when the fire is already there, it's not the solution to this. We need to train and prevent, and I don't see that's happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Gomez, Councilor Davila, followed by Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be brief with my comments. I think we're all kind of saying the same thing, and that is that it's hard to wrap my head around this. I have a headache of going back and forth on this issue. Just a quick question, just to get my facts straight, if I may, Mr. President. Attorney De Souza, you say that how much did we pay since 2010?
So I didn't have those figures. That was Councilor Whitfield had the spreadsheet apparently with her from 2010 to 2019.
How much was that?
I think she said about $9 million.
$9 million.
And then,
Plus, yeah.
and then since then we've paid about another 7 million. But I do want to, I know that's a shocking figure, but that was $6.5 million of that was one case, which was a very, very significant case. It was a wrongful conviction case where a man spent 7 years in jail.
So we're roughly paying a little over $1.3 million a year on police misconduct. I first have to thank you guys, to you and to Attorney. Sorry, I muted myself there. My apologies. I have to first thank you and Solicitor Picula, because I do see the strategy here. I get what you guys are trying to say, but as it's been echoed before, this will be completely meaningless without true reforms, without true changes, and that world culture change that we need to have so that we all can have the best department, police department that we can have. Because honestly, there's a lot of good guys in that force that don't deserve the reputation that unfortunately they have. And so I go back to what I said in the finance committee. I feel like you're asking us to put our trust in you. This is a lot of money. I don't like the idea that once we give you that money, I don't want to say it's gone, but it's out of our hands. I don't like that aspect. So I am torn, but I see what you're trying to do. I'm going to support this very carefully, but I'm going to say that I will be watching for true reforms. And Attorney D'Souza, I do expect, if I could, just give us, like Councilor Allen suggested, feedback on, to the best of your abilities, on how that money is being spent if it gets approved today. So I will support this myself. I'm going to say reluctantly, but I do want to send some meaningful change, which I truly hope that this case with the DOJ is the catalyst that we finally need to get this needed change so that we can have the best department that we can have. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you are hearing Attorney Pakula and Attorney D'Souza, this is a difficult issue for the City Council. And my colleagues are sincerely bringing up issues that really matter to them on this new strategy that you have. And I was struck by Councilor Allen's comments when he talked about this being an unorthodox request, having the money there rather than coming back for it. So my concern is, and we're all concerned with the reforms, but my question is the role of the council. And I am wondering if this new strategy, is this going to reduce or diminish the role of the council when it comes to these settlements? Because as you have heard tonight, we all feel very strongly about playing a role in these settlements. But I do not disagree with you about the climate that we are now living in.
If I could try to address that, we're not talking about a change in precedent of how we handle these cases. We're talking about a strategy that fits for our times right now. We're not looking to come back here on multiple occasions to support some sort of new way of doing these cases. We're looking for something to handle right now, cases which are on the dockets that we are trying to deal with as best we can to avoid really being overwhelmed by jury verdicts, to try to cut our losses, as I said, to put these things behind us and to work on a future where that reputation that our officers deserve sticks with them. And that to the extent we're going to have to deal with these cases being litigated and jury verdicts coming through over the next year and a half, as opposed to the news being, here's the latest reforms that are there to protect us, it's going to be counterproductive. So we want to focus on putting these things behind us and turning the corner to a new precedent of orders and in the police department, as opposed to any precedent of how we defend these cases. We certainly don't intend to change the oversight that this council has. As I said, this is a short-term process to deal with the backlog that we're faced with in this climate. And that's why it's contemporaneous with the efforts to settle with DOJ.
And do you have a sense of, if this passes tonight, how many of those cases will be resolved as a result of passing this?
I hate to actually put a number. I really don't want to go into the specifics of how many cases we reviewed and which cases we feel have the most exposure. I don't want to talk about that at all, but I will tell you that we're hoping to settle about a dozen cases.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. Councilor Ramos, followed by Councilor Hurst.
President, thank you. I have 3 points that I want to make. The first one is that, yes, $5 million is a whole lot of money for police misconduct cases. As a resident of this city, born and raised, continuously disappointed in the fact that we have to repeatedly revisit the topic of police misconduct. And it always comes with a huge dollar amount worth of taxpayer money. As a member of this legislative body, I do understand my responsibility. I understand that it is our responsibility to protect the taxpayers. from this type of exposure and try to limit the damage financially. Over the past 8 years on this city council, I've been part of a number of executive sessions and taken part on several votes to approve settlements of police misconduct. In fact, I believe I once voted against one case because I was so appalled by the actions of the officers that I did not believe that they deserved to be indemnified. But in this case, you know, we are talking about a lot of money. $5 billion is a lot of money. However, I do understand that if not approved, it could end up costing more down the line. It could be double, it could be triple. And I've asked this question in the past: what happens if we say no? What happens if we continue repeatedly to say no, even after a judgment? And the answer was that one way or another, the taxpayers would end up paying for this, for a judgment, even if not funded by the city council through property taxes. And correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Pakula, is that accurate?
Yes, if you know, when Mr. Burns, when Patrick Burns, our comptroller, comes before you and gives you the review of the numbers, he is also the individual at the end of the year that puts the numbers together to set the tax rate. And in the forms that get submitted to the state, as we come to those tax rate calculations, one of the lines involves a judgment. And those judgments get added, and then the tax rate is calculated after that. And that's where we want to avoid we want to have settlements that are built in already, that are less than adding judgments. If you say no, we'll just add them up and they get added and they get factored into tax rate without any sort of planning, without any sort of analysis. And that we don't want that. We want to try to resolve these in the most efficient manner to try to save the taxpayers' money.
So of course, the responsible thing to do is to try to avoid that situation as much as possible, which is why I intend to support this transfer tonight. I'm not happy about it at all. However, it is the responsible thing to do because it is our responsibility to protect the taxpayers from more exposure. But a couple of more points I want to make, Mr. President. The second is that we continue to approve millions and millions and millions of dollars in police misconduct cases. And at the same time, there seems to be, or there is, a very loud and vehement denial from the administration, the mayor, and I've served under 3 police commissioners, and all 3 have denied that there was anything wrong with the police department. There's just nothing wrong with the police department. There's no need for police reform. There's no structural racism that exists within our department. Everything is perfect, right? The building is burning, we know it, but they're denying that there's a fire. And I think at some point, because we have spent millions and millions of dollars in police misconduct, there has to be an admission that there has been something wrong with the police department. And we keep talking, I mean, the administration now is talking about reform and we're taking steps to fix this and fix that. But if there's nothing wrong with the department, then why are we fixing it, right? If all these years we said they've been saying there was nothing wrong, then what is there to fix? So, you know, we have to stop lying to the taxpayers. The administration has to be more upfront and and just admit that there is something wrong and that we are in the process of fixing it. And again, the commissioner needs to admit that there is something wrong and that we are in the process of fixing it. The mayor needs to come out and say that there is something wrong and we are fixing it. Because if not, then why are we spending millions and millions of dollars, right? My final point, Mr. President, is that just going back to what I heard earlier in terms of, you know, from Councilor Gomez, what assurances do we have that this is not going to reoccur down the road? We keep talking about reforms, but we're not very clear as to what reforms are coming. And it's almost as if we're doing this backwards, Attorney Pikula, because I have, I have requested from the commissioner to give me some specifics on reforms. And I was satisfied with the last meeting that we had with the commissioner, but we're still being told that some things are in the works, and we're not being told as to what the settlement with the DOJ is going to end up being. And so how do we know what happens if those reforms are not enough, in our opinion? What happens if there are disagreements between the reforms that are proposed or agreed to without council input, and we want to go further? And when will we know what those reforms are going to be?
So, as I said, we're talking weeks, not months. In my opinion, we are getting close. When we have an agreement, we will bring it before you, and it will be an enforceable agreement. The DOJ will demand compliance with its terms. If not, we will find ourselves facing a court order that will be against us. This is a situation where we're going to be constantly evaluating our compliance with the settlement terms, and that data will be publicly available. It'll be for everyone to see as to the reforms. The reforms all need approval from our federal government, and I think you're going to be happy with the final product. I think it's going to have the terms that you're looking for, I think we're all going to be better off for them.
So I understand all that, and I appreciate the fact that it sounds like we are moving forward. However, when you say when we have an agreement, we'll bring it to you. That it proves exactly my point, which is that we don't have input, right? So we've expressed our opinion, and we're it's almost as if we're being asked to trust you in terms of what you've heard from us, or you think we want or we want to see in this reforms. But let me put it this way: is the city going to be proposing an agreement with the DOJ? Is that the way that it's going to work? And then you're going to ask whether or not that agreement is agreed to?
No, the agreement is going to be made between the executive branch and the DOJ. And that settlement agreement will be enforceable in court. And when we have reached agreement, we will come before you and go over all of it. And I think, as I said, we have covered all of the bases to provide greater accountability, greater discipline, greater supervision, greater training. Those are all the areas you've seen in the initial report. Now you're going to see all the details of what's being required. But you've seen the initial report. We've been working very hard, and we're getting close. Hopefully we can get over to the finish line. Nothing's guaranteed yet, but I do feel that we are getting close, and that's why I'm coming before you now, because I think there's going to be synergy here between putting together the settlements and putting these cases behind us and putting police misconduct behind us and moving forward with the reforms. I think they're going to go hand in hand.
Sure, and I get that. Mr. President, I apologize if I'm going over my time, but I think it's important to get an answer to the question that I'm trying to ask, which is, what if these reforms do not go far enough? What if the city council feels that these reforms do not go far enough? What authority do we have to add anything additional to that agreement?
You're not a party to the agreement. As I said, your powers are, as the legislative body, to enact legislation and not to settle cases. That's an executive function. And that's what we've been working on.
So that's the problem that I have with this, is the fact that we are, we're being asked to approve this $5 million of taxpayer funds to settle police misconduct cases. And what I'm saying is, if we're going to settle these cases, we need assurance that we're not going to be in the same boat 5 years from now. And that is in the form of police reform. However, we're not being a part of that conversation of police reform, and we're not a party to the settlement, as you said.
My understanding is the DOJ spoke to everyone and anyone who wanted to talk to them. And I think that's everyone on the city council. I believe that you all had input or had the opportunity to provide input.
Mr. President, I'm gonna again, I'm gonna support this tonight, but I'm gonna schedule. Ed, would it be appropriate to schedule a executive session to discuss where we are, how close we are to those reforms, and maybe we can get into a little bit more details in executive session?
I'd be willing to do that.
For Councilor Ramos.
I'll do
We can
that.
follow up with that. All right. Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Hirsch, followed by Councilor Letterman, and then hopefully we can dispose of this one way or the other.
Thank you, Mr. President, and Councilor Ramos. I think you hit the nail on the head, which is precisely why I'm not going to write a blank check this evening. They still can come before us if they choose to settle, just on a case-by-case basis. And if you don't approve it tonight, well, you wait 3 weeks, maybe a month, and you'll know exactly what the reforms are. You vote for this now, then you'll ultimately have the same skepticism that the attorneys on the other side have and the judges have with respect to the city of Springfield settling. The reality is the city council has approved every settlement that has come before us since I've been on the council. So what's the reason why anybody would believe that we won't settle if a settlement is brought before us? I just think it's our responsibility that we analyze every case that is to be settled, and that the public is privy to every case that we're going to settle, and that we certainly ask the questions necessary on a case-by-case basis. I would be extremely skeptical in terms of giving the administration $5 million and say, go settle. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't think it's a good way in which, we should, it doesn't speak to the oversight that we ought to be doing as a body. And I certainly understand the solicitor's strategy, but, there hasn't been enough transparency for me, not just in this process, but, Councilor Ramos pointed to police reform. No, it might not be in our power to weigh in on the DOJ settlement, but you certainly could include us in more ways than one. We could be at the table, but when we constantly give and give and give and give, power yields to nothing but a demand. And if we continue to give, at the end of the day, they're going to continue to do things as they've always done. And in my opinion, it hasn't been fruitful for taxpayers, and has ultimately cost us a lot of money. So for me, the proof is in the pudding. I won't be supporting this tonight because I can't go back and continue to explain to my constituents how I just gave the city of Springfield a blank check of $5 million to go and settle cases that we don't even know about. I wouldn't be able to explain it to them. So with that said, Mr. President, my hope is that, councilors might rethink, how they stand on this. But, for me personally, I just can't do it.
Respectfully, if I may.
Attorney Pakula, yes.
Respectfully, Councilor Hurst, the settlement of a case is purely an executive function. It's not a matter to be debated on legislative floors. The appropriation, the purse strings, is where your authority lies, and that is why we are here before you tonight. It is not as to the executive function of settling cases. As Attorney Ramos pointed out, regardless of what this body does, we can settle cases. But the problem is they're added to the tax rate. And the best way to do this is to utilize our authority to settle the cases and ask the legislature to make the appropriations to support us. So we're not trying to do anything in the dark. We're not trying to cut you out. We're trying to make sure that our charter is followed. We're trying to make sure that the way democracy works is followed. It's just legislative bodies are not set up to administer. Legislative bodies have to set broad policies, and that's what I'm coming for you tonight. Set a broad policy in a very narrow scope to deal with a backlog of cases that have been created over a history of time, over a history of COVID, and over a history that we need to move beyond. And so I applaud you for your efforts to take a stand, but I have to disagree with you in terms of the method of how we efficiently run this government.
Just a quick response, Mr. President, and I'll be brief. I certainly understand where the solicitor is coming from, but we've done this before, as folks have said, on multiple occasions. We know how the process normally works. You negotiate the settlement, you come to us to appropriate the money, and we meet in executive session. I'm not asking for anything different here. This is what we've always done. Why wouldn't we continue it? And I understand your argument. I just disagree with it. I think we have a duty to handle and understand these cases on a case-by-case basis. I don't know what cases you're bringing before us that we're approving $5 million for. That has never happened. Again, I approach this with the same skepticism that the attorneys on the other side approach it with and that the judges approach it with. I seem to think that there's more to it and that it has some connection with the DOJ settlement in terms of approving the $5 million. I could be wrong, but I keep hearing this connection between the approving and the DOJ settlement. Don't quite understand fully exactly why. They seem to me to be separate issues, but I don't think everything is being laid on the table. That's just me personally. So to that extent, I disagree, and I'll certainly vote my conscience. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. President, could I briefly respond?
I would really like to get this moving. We've been on this issue for 40 minutes. So if you don't mind, Attorney, please, Councilor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have a quick question and then something to say. The question being, you've committed here this evening to continue to brief the council on the settlements that you do make. You've spoken, in executive session about some of these cases before. But the question I have is, are the settlements and the circumstances of the cases public once you settle? I mean, they would be made public normally through the individual item appearing on the agenda. That's often how they're made public. But in this case, how would the public know where the $5 million ultimately went if it was all expended? Would an accounting be public in that circumstance?
It's all public records.
Absolutely. And as Attorney D'Souza said, she and we are committed to reporting on all of those. It is impossible for any public body to settle a case in the dark. We cannot spend public money without disclosure. Non-disclosure agreements do not work when it comes to spending money. We are simply here trying to deal with a backlog that is overwhelming, and we don't want to find ourselves in the midst of reform and having to take a break to say, hey, by the way, here's another $1 million case that we're stuck with. Let's get those things behind us. Let's move forward so that we focus on the reforms and not on all the cases that we feel we're really stuck with right now. I'm sorry, Attorney D'Souza.
No, I mean, it's a public record was all I was going to say, Councilor Letterman.
The question's been answered to my satisfaction, so I appreciate that. And the only other thing I just wanted to say is, I mean, I wanted to lift up some of the comments of my colleagues and some of the comments that I've heard from folks in the community about this. I mean, we've heard a lot about our fiduciary responsibility this evening. I think we all understand that. But we also have a responsibility to justice as the closest elected body to the people. And I think one of the reasons that we know these settlements, these judgments are so big, especially currently, is because the violation of trust is so serious in our communities. If you're a student of political science, then you know that the entrustment of use of force by the state is one of the most serious responsibilities that a government holds. And our officers carry that out and that responsibility every day. For that reason, they have to be held to an extremely high standard. And I think that that's what this body has been attempting to do since 2010. And I think that that is the reason why the settlements cannot come without the commitment to and the evidence of structural change. You know, since 2010, this body has been pushing for structural change. Members of this body have been pushing for that change since before we joined the city council as well. And members of the community and community organizations have been pushing for that change, not because we don't believe that there are many police officers in the city of Springfield that go to work every day to do their job, to carry out their oath, to keep us safe and to work with the community, but because we recognize that when individuals do not meet that standard, it has an extraordinarily serious negative impact on the community, on the people that we all have an obligation to serve. And I think we are headed in a direction of structural change. I think that there have been some structural changes that this body and the administration have agreed on. There's obviously been some that we don't agree on, and the judge is going to decide. And I think that's an important step as well. But we can't move forward as a community without addressing the past wrongs and the trauma that has inflicted on the people of the city of Springfield and on that sacred and important relationship between the community and the police that exists in any society. And so, I'm hopeful that we're headed in a direction. There's been a lot of things said about this council and the work that members of this council have tried to do for more than a decade in terms of pushing those structural changes. And I just think it's important to recognize that work that came before I was elected to this body, before many of us were elected to this body, and since some of us have been elected to this body. And also, we work every day with police officers that do rise to the occasion. Every single one of us know the vast majority of our department who we've worked with are meeting that call. And that's why it's so important to make sure that we put this in place so that those that aren't rising to that level of accountability, just as we should do with elected officials, are held accountable. So that's my thoughts on it. I'm going to support the motion. I'm going to expect the reporting to take place regularly. And I think, Mr. President, if we can establish a schedule and a structure through which to do that appropriately, that will be important to me. But let's continue to push not just for making sure that individuals who have been impacted get justice through these settlements, but also that we see the structural change so we can move forward for the benefit of everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Councilor Whitfield, if you would just indulge me to hear Councilor Fenton, who hasn't spoken on the issue. Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. Is Lindsay here?
Yes, she is.
Lindsay.
Yes.
Our stabilization reserves are plus or minus 50 million. Is that right?
Yes.
So this would put us plus or minus 45 million.
44.1 million, 5.8% of our general fund budget.
Okay, so that's what I was just about to get to. So the 5% requirement under the special act and under our financial ordinances would be complied with if we approve this transfer.
Yes, it would.
How much money would we have above the 5%, roughly?
0.8%. Let me see. About 600,000.
All right. Huh. So the general fund budget is 755, right?
755.7. Hold on. Yep, 755.7.
And 5% of
Hold
that.
on, 0.8%. Hold on.
5% of that is only 38 million.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I said 5% of that number of the operating budget at 755 is only 38 million. 37.75, I believe. Plus or minus. I'm trying to figure out, the reason I'm asking this is I'm trying to figure out how much money is really left effectively in stabilization for spending if we appropriate the 5 million. And you're saying it doesn't sound like much. You're saying
No,
close to
I'm sorry. It's
6,000.
it's 6.1 million.
That's what I think it's a lot higher.
I
Okay, so
missed
we have-
decimal there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So we'd have 6.6 million of excess, what I'll describe as excess stabilization reserves above the mandatory 5%.
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilor Fenton, Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you. This will be my final comment. And I'm sorry, Attorney Pakula, but what Councilor Hirsch just made so much sense to me, and also what Councilor Letterman said made a lot of sense to me, because it's all about trust. And I'm gonna tell you a couple of examples where we asked for something to happen that didn't. We asked in the beginning that we be told up front before ARPA funds were spent, yet $2.7 million was spent to purchase some buildings, right? So we asked for that. We asked for someone to be on a committee about the casino funds to find out what's happening with those. That has yet to happen from the council. Several times we have sent information to the mayor's administration that he took as his own. And I have proof that he took someone else's ideas and made it his own, made sure he got the press release out first. I have clear evidence of that. And so when we talk about trust, it's hard to trust an administration that continuously disappoints you, that continuously want to act like, you know, the council don't want to work together, when in fact, when we try, things are not done appropriately. When we ask for certain things, they're not done appropriately. When we ask for information on merit, pay and things like that, we can't get it for 2, 3, and 4 weeks. It's very difficult to support or trust that what the administration is saying, whether we have the executive power or not, to just give out more money, more taxpayer dollars for something that we don't know about. And I trust Attorney D'Souza. I really do. I really respect Attorney D'Souza. I really trust that what she says she will do, because she has not given me a reason ever, even when I worked for the law department, not to. But it's other factors in the administration, going back to being on the marijuana committee and other things, that I just don't trust about the administration, because they do not keep their word, and some of the things that are done are very backhanded. And I'm sorry that I have to be this blunt and honest, but it is the truth. And so when Councilor Hirsch spelled out why we should know up front what is happening with this money or these settlements, it gave me another perspective. So it's going to be now difficult for me to support moving the money without knowing, what are we settling? Like, it feels like a tactic to not tell us about the cases, because if you come to us to an executive session, you have to speak to what's going on. But now you don't. You just can take the funds, spend them, and then tell us later. And so we don't have the facts on what's going on. And I know that it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because white supremacy, racism, implicit bias, explicit bias, all these things are embarrassing to certain folks. And it should be. It's hard. But if we work together, we can really get past these things, but we can't do it in secret. We have to be upfront and tell what is going on. And so when Councilor Hirsch spoke, I felt that, because too many times things are done in secret, or things are done with certain counselors, or things are done with certain administrators and things like that. That's not the way that you're supposed to run the government. And I know that we're not the executive body, but we do have a responsibility to community. And I've heard counselors say over and over again, we're the closest to the people. Well, we can't tell the people what's going on if we don't know. And so I feel that if we had a solid relationship, if there was some real trust, that I could move forward and support that. But since there is not, I don't know that we will win this, and it doesn't matter. But in my conscience, and for the record, and for people to know where I stand, I want to know the truth. I want transparency. I want transparency for the people, and not after the fact, like the $2.7 million that you got to find out in the paper. Not like that. Upfront transparency. And so for that reason, I have changed my opinion.
Well, Attorney Pakula, can I jump in? I just had a quick question in regards to not to discuss the contents of the last executive session we had, but I do remember it ending with folks talking about wanting to hear about cases specifically. And I was just wondering if it's an option to still have that discussion in executive session. And maybe it might be wise to just to continue this until that discussion takes place.
Yes, we were prepared that night to discuss all of the cases in executive session, as you recall, but there wasn't enough time. Another night we were on the agenda and we were never reached. I made the offer then that if anybody wanted to contact my office, that I would sit and go through the cases that we had selected and explain why we thought there was exposure. And so I hear the concerns. I genuinely do. I understand that it's hard to do it this way. It's been hard to try to do it the other way. Asking people to evaluate these kind of complex cases it's a huge undertaking. I mean, I've worked in this field I've been a lawyer for 35 years, and these are complicated cases. And I'm not entirely sure that it is possible to have city councilors sit as a risk management team. But I'm more than willing to give any information at any time to the extent that I'm able to assuage those concerns. But at the same time, it's not going to be possible for us to have the hours that we would need to do this. That's why we've attempted to do it this way, to approach it globally. The last time I was in front of you before this crop of cases, before the pandemic, because I was standing there in person, I offered then to come to because people kept saying then, are there more cases? Are there more cases? And I kept saying, yes, there's more cases. And there's cases that I am very concerned about. And I offered then to come and speak in executive session about all of the cases that we are facing that had significant exposure. These have not come out of nowhere. You guys all know the press, you know what the cases have come from. So anyways, I know that went well beyond what you were asking me for an answer, but I just have to say, I'm very sensitive to the need for transparency in government, but I also am sensitive to the limits of our ability to function when there just aren't enough hours for us to get these complicated matters in front of this council. And we have tried through executive sessions, through council, through, I don't know, Eddie knows all through the committee of the whole. And we just haven't been able to do this. And I really need to respond to Councilor Hurst. There is no hidden agenda here. This is not, we're not doing this so the DOJ likes us and then we can get into an agreement. There's nothing, that is not true. There's no basis for those concerns. And I say that as an officer of the court. I say that as a solicitor for the city. I say this as a lifelong resident of the city and a taxpayer. That's not what's going on here. But I'm happy to do whatever we can do to move these matters forward.
Well, I would again just ask the council, seeing that we've spent an extensive time on this item, to consider if at this point it's appropriate to perhaps prolong the conversation or continue the conversation at some other point. And I would be happy to schedule a special or whatever format is needed to have the conversation further. Councilor Davila.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have heard a very lots of robust conversation, a lot of good arguments back and forth. And if I understood Attorney D'Souza just now, I think she just told us that part of the reason is we don't have enough manpower to be effective in these cases and shielding the taxpayers from a potential more liability that we're exposed to. This is a vote that I think I'm gonna take holding my nose. I'm not happy about this at all. And I think they also told us that they're on the time clock. And I think, although I see the wisdom of continuing this conversation, they're on the time clock. And we need to move forward. I think, in my opinion, the Washington will be moving forward. Again, I am not happy, but I'm still standing in my position that I'm going to be supporting this, and I will urge this wise body to move forward and dispose of this order today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Sorry, Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Regarding continuing this, I was surprised to see this, and I believe I mentioned it in conversations with other councilors. I was kind of surprised to see this on the agenda, because when we left discussing it, I felt that there were going to be another meeting on it before we brought it forward for a vote. And it is certainly a very important issue. And I'm trying to figure out from conversations on the floor whether or not it will pass. So I think I might favor continue it to make sure that when it's brought forward, there are enough votes for passage, because I don't know if that will happen tonight.
Councilor Walsh, would you like to make that in the form of a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion to refer this for further discussion.
Second the motion.
Based
Second the motion.
on the real concerns issued by my colleagues. And I would also like to say that I don't like it when councilors are criticized for having a belief. I mean, we all come to this meeting, from different strengths and backgrounds, but I believe that we're all very sincere about why we're voting the way we're voting. And so be it. Vote your conscience, and let's vote it without criticism.
Councilor Walsh, I agree. Thank you for that comment. Okay, so there is a motion on the floor made by Councilor Walsh, and I'm sorry, seconded by Councilor Gomez, I believe that was.
Yes.
All right, Madam Clerk, can we please call the roll on continuing this item?
On continuing item number 14, Councilor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton.
No.
No, Councilor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Williams.
Yes, thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilors, I will work with the law department to schedule another executive session on this matter. And if need be, it can be a special, so we go from open to close, back to open for a vote if there's urgency behind this. So thank you all for that. So moving along, I'm seeing the time now is 9:37. I'm seeing there are several other financial orders here, but I also realize that we have folks who have been waiting that are part of our hearings. So if there is no objection, I would like to jump to those in the interest of time. So at least we can kind of dovetail into that and then circle back. All right, thank you, councilors. Madam Clerk, can you please help me out with the next item? I know we've been jumping around here.
That would be item number 28 under the special permits.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. All right.
Actually, we've taken number 28 already out of order. So the next one would be 360 Main Street, which is item number 29. So McDonald.
Perfect. All right. All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 29. Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony remaining in favor of this special permit?
We have not.
All right. And have we received any opposition of the special permit?
Not within the time frame. We have not.
Okay. And are there folks on the call, any in opposition of the special permit here?
I believe there is.
Mr. Florian, would you like to speak? If so, please state your name and address for the record. Mr. Florian, you're muted.
Leo Florian, 18 Wendell Place, President, South End Citizens Council. And yes, I'd like to speak on this matter. When we left the last time, there was obviously some confusion over an agreement that we had thought we reached with McDonald's. I still don't know as of right now what their plan is. Are they still requesting a 24-hour drive-through? And if that is the case, then we strongly object to that. We're at the point right now, we reached an agreement with them over the hours and over all of the other conditions that need to be heard. I have not heard back from them since the last meeting. And, you know, we're dealing with a situation right now where, you know, we put up with a lot, you know, over the last couple of years with the understanding was, well, we didn't know about the original special permit. And then when they found out, they continued to operate at the same hours. There's other issues around public safety. There's hundreds of calls that were made to the Springfield Police Department over the last 2 years, and yet their budget for security was still zero. As far as the place itself, in terms of the issues that are going on around the building, between the panhandlers out front at the drive-through, which are supposed to be addressed. And there's people that are on this call tonight that can tell you firsthand, and they have videos of things that have happened. So none of these things have been taken care of, and yet they're asking to extend the hours. Makes no sense. We're willing to, at first we were looking to go back to the original agreement from the times that they have for the closings and all the items that they're supposed to be doing. We turned around and we thought we reached an agreement to say a 2 o'clock closing, 2 a.m. And we thought that was all agreed upon. And I still don't know what they're thinking at this point. We would be willing to stick with the agreement that we sent copies to you with the points that are down there, with the understanding that it's not just the hours that they have to adhere to, but it's also the other items that are on there. Public security, the security part is a big part of it, and the cleaning up around their area that they were supposed to do for the last 30 years that they haven't done. So I haven't heard from them. I have no idea where they stand on any of these issues, and I still don't know what they're going to ask you for tonight.
All right, thank you, Mr. Florian, for your testimony. Mr. Tazzini, if you could just state your name and address for the record if you are speaking in opposition.
Hi, it's George Tazzini III, Tazzini Funeral Home, 22 Locust Street, Springfield, Mass. And in accordance, with Leo, I agree with what he said, except for the 2 a.m. I just feel we just need to stop this whole thing. It's been a snowball. They haven't been accountable for anything. Tyrone Davis looked us in the eye.
Excuse me, Mr. Tazzini, I would ask
Sure.
that you please refer from calling out people directly and address it through the chat.
Okay. The representatives of McDonald's that we met with, in my world, when I look somebody in the eye and I shake their hand, whoever they are, I stick by that. Whether it's going to benefit me or hurt me, it's something I said and I stand to it. That's me. The South End, it's still a viable entity. If we give the inch now and they take a mile, we can't get it back. Once this vote goes, that's it. So in a meeting today with Mayor Sarno, I brought up, forget the 2 o'clock. He said 2 o'clock, or McDonald's said 2 o'clock. Next thing we know, it was 24 hours. So let's go back to what's currently in place. Let them stay for a year, probation, whatever you want to call it. Mr. Mayor Sarno said that's a great idea. 6 months, year, whatever. Hold them accountable to something. Let us see the cease and desist order. They haven't lived up to it. So why are we going to give them something more when they can't even live up to what they have currently? That's all I'll have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tazzini. Mr. Davis, would you like to respond to any of the testimony?
Yes, I would. Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name now just for the record.
Tyrone Davis.
You have the
Hear me,
floor.
yes?
Yes.
Okay, so we did send over to Mr. Drummy a letter responding to all the stuff that the South End Council has some concerns about.
All right. Well, just at this point, if Mr. Davis, that's your testimony, I will.
No, I'm not finished. I got one more. So
I'm sorry, we're hearing an echo from you. Can you? I don't know if you're using two systems at the same time.
Forgive me. Is that better?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry about that. Yeah. So yes, Leo, we realize that 24 hours that we were all asking for, that they were operating for 30 years. It's not something that is palatable for anyone. So what we've done is we're asking for to be open till 2 a.m. And what we've done is we've contracted Jackson Security that will be on site on the premises from 9 p.m. until 2 a.m. Whenever only the drive-through operating. So we're not looking for 24 hours. All the other issues that mentioned, we've addressed them and answered to them the best we could. And once again, we're looking to be open till 2 a.m. with Jackson Security providing a security guard and a vehicle on site starting at 9 p.m. all the way up to 2 a.m. in the morning.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. At this point, I will entertain your comments from the council. And Councilor Whitfield.
Thank you, Mr. President. What would be the entire hours of the McDonald's?
So we would operate in the morning from 5 a.m. until 12 a.m. or 11 opening inside. After that point, when it 11 p.m. or 12, the restaurant would close and only the drive-through will be providing service. Ideally, we would like to have the 24 hours, but that is not, I don't think that's going to be possible at this particular time. And we don't mind working until 2 a.m.
Davis, you're having connection issues.
For the team. And then we can always come to that. I believe in, are we good?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm just trying to
Yes, so-
understand, so your internal hours would be until 11 or 12, you don't know which one?
Well, McDonald's franchise agreement says I have to open until 11. So I can do my hours from 5 a.m. until 11 p.m., close the inside at 11 p.m., and run the drive-through from then until 2 a.m. And have the Jackson security officer on site with this vehicle at 9 p.m.
Okay, and how much, do you know how much a security company can do with panhandlers? Besides ask them to leave, is there, what else, do you know? I mean, because there's
Well-
panhandlers all over the city, so I'm just trying to figure out what the expectation is there.
To be honest with you, panhandlers are all over the city, as you just
All over, every time I
said.
stop, there's a
We go
panhandler.
outside, we have,
I think that's a
yes, every time I go to buy
citywide
gas, I
issue.
get a panhandler.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's
but we
a
do the best we
citywide
can.
issue.
Yes, but we do the best we can to make sure that when they're there, we do ask them to leave. We have security camera systems outside that show us when they're there, and we also walk the outside lot every 15 to half an hour. I would prefer to have the security guard at 9 p.m. Only because you're talking to the nighttime, things can get a little bit more different. And I think a security officer with his vehicle there, riding the area, just patrolling only my area. He's not going anyplace else. That's why I spoke to Mr. Jackson, and I'm using his security team because he seems to be very familiar with that area and with the security protocols. So they'll be on site from 9 p.m. until 2 a.m.
I mean, I think that it gets dark a little bit earlier than 9, so they might want to consider being there a little bit earlier, maybe 8. And what about the issues of the cleanliness of the location? That's also been addressed.
Oh, that location is, I'm proud of that location. We were not the previous, we just bought the rest of the area restaurant about 3 years ago. So we didn't own it previously. And we invested in it. The landscaping was terrible when we got it. We have cleaned that up. We just planted fresh mums just now. So we have 3 maintenance people that police that area outside to keep everything clean. I'm not looking to make the Springfield McDonald's the talk of the town as being the dirtiest town around.
Okay, because I'm just trying to figure that out. Like, if you are addressing the concerns that the community or folks in the area are coming to you with, because from what we're hearing, the communication has not been very good with McDonald's and the neighborhood. And so I think that that's something that you should do better at, and also making sure that maybe the security starts a little bit earlier than 9 o'clock, because for the safety of everybody, we don't really want employees walking out there and that's not trained, asking panhandlers and others that's loitering to leave the property. You do want staff there that knows how to handle that type of situation. So maybe consider that, and make sure you know that you're clear on what the internal hours are, because you kind of said 11 or 12.
Oh,
So
11, so we would close at 11.
11, and then the drive-through will go to 2 a.m.
Yeah, so we close the inside of the restaurant at 11, and the drive-through would go from only the drive-through would be working after 11 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield. Councilor Edwards.
Mr. President, if it's possible, I'd kind of like to reserve my comments until some of my colleagues have had a chance to speak. I have sitting before me the document that was circulated with the 16 conditions that would generate the support of the South End Citizens Council. And it is my understanding that the council is in agreement with the 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. Indoor operation and the drive-through closing at 2 a.m. as long as the other conditions are also met. And if the proprietor is in agreement with that, he will have the full support of the citizen council. So I'd like to kind of hear what other people have to say before I make a motion to approve. At the closing of the hearing, I would then, at the point the hearing is closed, that's when I would make a motion for the permit to be granted with the conditions that were listed and circulated to the council with from a 2 a.m. to 5 a.m. closing. That's my request, Mr. President, is to reserve my comments until others have had a chance to speak.
All right, thank you, Councilor Edwards. Councilor Davila, followed by Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, is Phil Dromey on the call at all?
Yes, he is.
Okay. Phil, good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Phil, I believe I asked in last meeting for how many police responses were at that location. Were you able to get that information, sir?
That was actually provided by, I think, Mr. Dezzini in his email submitted a document that showed a list of the police calls from, I think.
I have not seen that. Is that something you can enlighten us with? If you may, please.
I mean, it went out in an email. I think it's literally a 16-page document, which has the.
Councilor Davila, yeah, that was circulated. I will give the floor to Mr. Tazzini if you can just give a very synopsis of that information.
Yes, I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, the document they're mentioning that I originally did was from 2016, where there were 2,400 incidents reports. And then most recently, there was that was a 16 or 20 page document from the city of Springfield. And then the most recent one was from 2019. And it was a little bit less than half of that in calls.
So we're definitely getting over 1,000 calls a year easily.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's roughly, I would say that's 3 a day, 3 a day or so, 2 a day. So, Mr. President, if I may, through the presidency, is there any way that we can get a little bit more clarity on the, speaking of emails, of an email that we received with a video pertaining to this case? I do believe, I'm not sure if this came within the time frame or not.
Yeah, Councilor Davila, that was submitted after the closing for testimony to be read into the record. So it was circulated for the councilors and duration.
Okay.
But
so that would not be appropriate for this hearing now. So to the proponent, good evening to you, Mr. Davis. It is Mr.
Good evening.
Davis, right? Good evening to you, sir. So I'm still a little confused, sir. So you're saying that you want to operate from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. and then you want to have the drive-through up to 2 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Yes, okay. Now, I asked you last time, have you guys been operating that 24 hours?
When we purchased the restaurant from the previous operator, it was always 24 hours. So yes, it was operating 24 hours when we purchased it.
Okay, so including under your management, it had been operating for 24 hours.
Under my management, we were operating 24 hours because we bought it as is, and we met with the city council. They told us it's not supposed to. May I finish? Thank you. They told us we could not be doing the 24 hours. We said, okay, let's try. We're going to try for 6 months, and then they would revisit it with us. And then the COVID, that happened. So that threw a monkey and everything. But we did get a cease and desist order from the town saying that we have to operate within certain hours, and we complied with that. The first 2 weeks and a half was difficult because all the customers were literally conditioned to doing the same thing for the past 30 years. So to get them to stop, within 2 weeks was somewhat difficult. But we are there. We don't have as many folks driving in and out as before.
But so, Mr. Davis, my final question, because I know.
So I am compliant with the.
Okay, let's, if move on, because it's almost 10 o'clock and it's almost close to the big witching hour for us. My question to you, sir, is according to what we just provided, that roughly you are getting out of that location historically, about 1,000 police calls at a minimum a year. That's roughly about 3 calls a day that the police has to respond to that location. Can you elaborate on that? Can you give me some perspective? Because I find that very troubling, sir.
Well,
What is
I'm
happening
sure.
at McDonald's that the police has to show up 3 times a day?
I will tell you, like I said, we only purchased the restaurant roughly 3 years.
Yeah, but,
So I believe.
but you still have it under your management, sir. You keep saying you keep going back to the past.
No, I'm just going to finish.
Let me finish, sir. I'm speaking. Let me finish, sir. It is now under your watch. And the data they just told us, the cops are going to your location at least 3 times a day. What in the name of God is happening at McDonald's that the cops have to?
I disagree with your data because I'm there and I don't see the cops here 3 times a day. Now, I will tell you that the last meeting we had with the city council, and Leah can attest to this, the mayor told us that to get rid of the panhandlers, they want us to continuously call the police every time we see someone. Every time we see someone. So my folks were calling. We moved to a different strategy as, you know what? Let's go just ask them to leave. And that is working. So previously the mayor was encouraging us to call the police all the time as much as we can. So my folks were calling the police all the time and they, every time someone showed up.
Okay, all right.
Councilor Davila, I need to move on to other councilors.
Yes, Mr. I just want to finish. I do have a plethora of more questions, and this is an issue, as I mentioned last time. This is right boundary in my ward, and so. But I do look forward, and I'm anxious to hear the Councilor Edwards' thoughts on this. I yield, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Davila. Councilor Curran. I'm sorry, Councilor Walsh, followed by Councilor Curran.
Thank you, Mr. President. You know, a lot forth on this particular issue, but what I'm concerned about is where we are. I'm not clear where we are right now with the stamp of approval from the South End Citizen, because I know how hard they have worked to preserve that neighborhood, and they're very diligent about all these concerns that come before them. So before I can take a vote, I would have to know, and Leo, I guess I would reach out to you. Are you comfortable with the hours that I believe have been stated, that they would close at 11 o'clock at night and then the drive-through would be open to 2? Has your group voted on that, or is this something new to you?
Like I said, after the last meeting, everything was still up in the air. We didn't know what they were looking for. As far as the 2 o'clock, we like I said, there are people there that said, no, let them stick to the original one and close at 1. But we agreed to go to 2 when we all sat down. But when we say we agreed to go to 2, that also includes all of the other conditions. And you could ask him right now, when it comes to the cleaning the property, even in the old permit, they're supposed to go once a day, a 1 block radius around the entire building and clean up every single day. Ask them how many days that has happened. So I don't want to focus on the past. I want to move forward. Our intention was never to hurt McDonald's. We like McDonald's being there. All we're saying is abide by what we agreed on, and we could all get along. If he runs the business right, it didn't matter from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. You know, if he just does what he's supposed to do, that's in there, we'll all be happy. We'll work together and we'll move forward. So if he does agree to all of that and understand that he can say things, but we're going to follow up on it. And if he does not follow up on every one of those items that are on there, then it's a whole different ballgame.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Councilor. I'm sorry.
So I guess the next question would be to the petitioner, do you agree to all those conditions?
I sent that to Mr. Drummy already. I agree to the conditions.
He didn't send them to us.
Yeah, and just for the council's notice, I received those late this afternoon. So they, I did not have that document until late this afternoon.
Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
Jones.
my apologies about that. But
I'm sorry, Mr. Davis. I just want to state for the council, the time now is 10:01. We'll need unanimous consent from the council to proceed. So at this time, if there's anyone that objects, feel free to raise your hand. If not, we can continue. All right.
Mr.
President.
Oh, sorry.
I think we really need to hear the people that didn't get heard the last time.
I agree.
Councilor Curran.
Yes, just for the edification of the council and to Councilor Edwards' question of where we stand, I would be inclined to vote against this measure. We do have a situation with drive-throughs here in the city of Springfield, not particular to this McDonald's, but at this McDonald's, my understanding, an 18-year-old youth was murdered about 6 months ago. So obviously, we have a very serious situation in that McDonald's, and I don't think security guards are going to be able to mitigate that. But a larger question maybe for the city council is regulating and maybe working with the police department on some of these drive-throughs. We dealt with the Boston Road drive-through that we're still dealing with. And obviously, for whatever reason, post-COVID, obviously the drive-throughs have played a significant role. People have to use them. But, you know, I think we got to get a little bit stricter to their use, especially when we have a situation where, again, an 18-year-old youth was murdered and at this drive-through. So I would be inclined to vote against certainly the 2 a.m. And I would roll it back certainly to possibly 10. And I know that might seem unfair to the petitioner, but again, the murder 6 months ago certainly weighs heavy on my vote, as well as the police calls. So that's where I stand to Councilor Edwards' question, and I leave that to my colleagues.
Thank you, Councilor Kerr. Councilor Fenton.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the petitioner, what time did you close last night?
Last night was a Sunday night. We closed at 1 a.m.
What time did your permit stipulate you're supposed to close?
I'm lying. I closed at 12. I'm sorry. 12. Saturday we closed at 1. Sunday we closed at 12. My permit says on the weekends. It's to be honest with you, sometimes I don't know if weekend includes Sunday or not. So but we close at 1 o'clock on weekends, and during the week we're supposed to close at midnight. And can I ask the council a question, please?
No.
No.
Okay. No.
Continue, please.
Actually, I'm looking for a clarification. Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. President, I think I want to bring us back to what we're here being asked to do. This site has a permit that was issued by this body in 1991. It has time restrictions. The operator is not honoring those time restrictions as recently as last night. I have no interest in approving a special permit expanding the hours for this facility for an operator that has clearly indicated a disregard for the city's rules and what's required under its permit. And so for that reason, I'm not going to support any special permit amendment here unless it was to restrict hours to make them less than what was granted in 1991. Other than that, I don't think that it's reasonable, given the circumstances, for the developer to stand before us and ask for an increase in hours. Lack of knowledge is not an excuse. He has been made aware of these circumstances and has continued to refuse to exercise his care over his business. At one point, he said it was difficult getting the customers to adjust. You turn off the lights and lock the door. That's how you do it. So I'm not going to support an expansion of hours. The only type of amendment that I would support for this type of application would be a reduction.
Thank you, Councilor Whitfield.
I just wanted to comment on, we got to be fair here now. There was a murder that happened at McDonald's, but that is not the establishment's fault. There was also a murder that happened on June 15th in the One Stop Plaza. But do we close down the plaza and penalize the plaza for what happened over there? There was a murder on Vermont Street, but do we penalize the people that live on Vermont Street for that murder? There was a murder. I mean, and I can go on. I can go on. So that's not fair to put that type of burden on the owner establishment. The owners are trying to do better. They are trying to get security out there based on the request of the South End Citizens Council. He said that they would actually, uphold what the Citizens Council has asked them to do. And so, I mean, if we grant the special permit, I think that we can give 6 months or a year review, where they have to come back and make sure that they're doing what they said that they were supposed to do. But to penalize an establishment for something that is out of their control is just not fair, to put that type of burden on anyone except the person that's pulling the trigger and killing the individual. That's the person that's responsible for a murder. So I did want to say that, because we do have to be fair. And I do believe that this establishment should be given a chance to prove themselves. I know at times, in working in these type of industries, they cannot close their doors until the last customer has left. They cannot tell a customer that they can't come in until after the hours have been met. So it could be they're supposed to close at 11, and if it's 10:58 and 3 people walk in, they're supposed to serve those customers, close the door behind those last 3, and then serve them until they're done, and then they leave. So sometimes it is out of their control when the establishment closes, but we have to be fair here. We can't just put our personal opinions on and burden the owners with our personal opinions. And so I think that this establishment needs a fair opportunity, like I've seen other establishments get fair opportunities throughout the city, and we can always ask them to come back and do a review in 6 months to a year.
Thank you, Councilor Woodfield. Councilor Ramos.
So a quick question for Phil Dromey. Phil, the reason why this is before us at all is because of a request to amend the hours in the special permit. Is that accurate?
Correct.
And so if this special permit is denied, then what would be the hours of operation?
The hours of operation would be for the entire, the way the current special permit is written, it doesn't differentiate between the restaurant and the drive-through. It simply says normal hours of operation during the summer are between 6 a.m. and 12 p.m. weekdays, and between 6 a.m. and 1 a.m. on weekends. At times other than summer, between 6 a.m. and 11 p.m. on weekdays, and 6 a.m. and midnight on weekends. So, just to kind of clarify as well, I keep hearing the hour of 5:30 as the opening, and the technically supposed to not be open until 6 according to the existing special permit, and close at 1 a.m. During the summer months, and midnight during the other times. And then that, again, the way the special permit's written, that includes the restaurant and the drive-through.
Okay, and so, but the request, so those are the existing hours of operation under the current special permit, and those are the hours that would remain if this permit this petition is denied.
Correct.
If this petition is approved, then the hours would be 5 to 12, or I'm sorry, 5 to 2 a.m. Is that correct?
But you would have to make that motion as well to amend the 6 a.m. to either 5 or 5:30, and then the drive-through you would just have to amend the hours of operation to include the drive-through being open till 2.
Okay, and so the document that was mentioned, or the conditions that were mentioned earlier regarding that reference, the conditions that the neighborhood council would agree to. I heard the petitioner say that he also would agree to those conditions. And so why are we still debating this issue if the petitioner said that he would agree to the conditions that were proposed or agreed to by the neighborhood council. I suppose that I assumed that was the issue, but what I hear tonight is that the petitioner agreed to those conditions. Mr. Davis, is that accurate? You agreed to that condition?
I do agree to the conditions. I would just want one thing, sir, is that I would like to not open the restaurant inside past 11 p.m.
Okay, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's
Okay.
any different from the conditions that were given. However, well, from what I understand, you, Mr. Davis, you agreed to the conditions that were presented. Is
Yes,
that
I do.
correct?
I agree
Okay.
100%. Yes.
Okay. And so, and Mr. President, I know that we've gotten into the weeds on this issue. I understand that there are concerns that are not necessarily addressed in the conditions that should be addressed in maybe a different avenue. However, I think that the question is whether or not the petitioner would agree to those conditions. And from what I understand, from what I saw, the frustration from the neighborhood council was that they had not heard until tonight, until just a few minutes ago, that the gentleman would agree to those conditions. And so, if that's the case, then I just assume we approve it based on those conditions. However, I will remind the council, my colleagues, the petitioner, that if this petition is denied, then Phil, correct me if I'm wrong, it cannot be reintroduced to the council for 2 years. Is that correct?
Correct. The same amendment.
The same amendment. And so if it is reintroduced to the council, it could be different hours.
I technically, I guess if I would defer to the lawyers in the room, but it can't be a substantially similar request.
Okay. And so that's something to consider. I don't know if the neighborhood council wants to continue this conversation with the petitioner, then I would suggest that we continue this item rather than vote it down, because again, this would restrict the petitioner from coming back for another 2 years. And so if we don't come to an agreement tonight, I would encourage my colleagues to continue this item rather than vote it down, to give them one more opportunity to settle the conditions and come to an agreement. That's all, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Ramos. Councilor Edwards. You're muted, Councilor.
Is it appropriate time to make a motion for conditions and for hours to be made at this time, Mr. President?
Yes, you may.
Okay, and to Council Ramos, the concerns of all of my colleagues and the comments they've made, please give consideration to and respect to the process and due diligence of the South End Citizen Council. They have done their diligence. They've worked very hard on this issue. There's been a lot of conversations. Obviously, this is not going to satisfy all the neighbors and all the people around there. There are people who are very much appreciative of being able to access food up till 2 a.m. or in the late morning hours, work and do other types of things. And then there's others who would be just as happy with this place closing down completely. Councilor Whitfield is correct. We don't necessarily, only time we generally, and it's not us, it's either the Liquor Commission or the mayor, penalize businesses for the behavior that occurs on their properties, usually related to the sale of alcohol. It's tragic anybody who had to bury their child because of an incident that happened in the drive-through. But I don't think that's the proprietor's fault that happened. And as such, the neighborhood council has worked and they've created a document that the petitioner has agreed to. There are 16 conditions, and I would, at this time, if it's appropriate, to make a motion that is acceptable to the proprietor and acceptable to the neighborhood council as the representatives of the neighborhood. And that motion would be that the hours of operation of the inside of the place be from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m., that the drive-through be operated from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m., and that the 16 conditions, which include chain fence, stockade, I believe it's been circulated throughout to all of the colleagues, and every condition, all 16 as written, be voted on and agreed by the petitioner to be in it. If anything, I would ask that a 6-month review of the petition, but please be mindful that the code enforcement, any entity that represents the city, can file a complaint, non-compliance of the permit at any time. And then we as a council have the right to revoke the permit in its entirety. So I think we need to actually have a further conversation about our authority overseeing special permits that have been granted. I'm going to go out on the limb and suggest that 98% of the auto repair sales businesses across the city that have come before us in recent years and asked for a special permit are at this time in violation. And it's a common occurrence for them to be in violation. And I don't mean just to call out that one industry, but I think we have to do a better job of following up and on the conditions of the permits that we do. But in this particular case, I can assure you that the representatives of the South End Neighborhood Council will be dealing with them and be watching and making sure that things are done correctly. And I had mentioned, and that includes the dumpsters, that includes the trash. I believe I mentioned at the last meeting that every property owner, whether they be residential or commercial, is responsible for the property line to the curb and then 3 feet out into the street. And in the case of the granting of this special permit, they are also going to be required for the 1 block area around their premise. And if they're all in agreement with that, then I would like to put that in the form of a motion.
All right, Councilor Edwards, a motion has been presented, but before that, Councilor Hurst, I'll give you the floor.
You can get it seconded and I'll speak to the motion.
Okay. There's a, Madam Clerk, first, did you get all that Councilor Edwards said on the motion?
I did, and we also have the recording, so when I go back in tomorrow, I will actually copy it, transcribe it word for word.
All right, appreciate it, thank you. Is there a proper second on Councilor Edwards' motion?
Second.
All right, seconded by Councilor Walsh. Councilor Hurst on the motion.
Yeah, just quickly, I think Councilor Edwards pretty much summed it up. I think the issue that we're dealing with and that residents are upset with is the enforcement of the conditions. And so it doesn't matter whether they agree to the 16 conditions or whether they were supposed to agree to the conditions that they had on the previous special permit. The conditions are meaningless if nobody enforces the conditions. I know that if this was a residence, code enforcement would have condemned the residents, right? Especially if you receive this amount of attention from police. And so, the question really is how we go about the enforcing of the conditions, and at what point in time, does it trigger a review? And why don't we ever seem to get to that point? Because in my years on the council, maybe one has come before us. And so, that certainly speaks to some deeper issues that we have within the administration, I would imagine.
Councilor Hurst, Councilor Letterman.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Just on the motion, my question was relative to the current conditions. Will this include the security patrol, or is that just something that's being guaranteed at this time?
Councilor Edwards.
It is my understanding that this will include the hiring of Jackson Security to do have on-site security as well. And I believe that might need to be amended or actually spoken out. I'm trying to find where the security part is.
Counselor, I did see it as condition number
9. Number 9.
Number 9 on the south end.
Yes,
thank you very much.
This does in fact include the security And I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but it's my understanding that Jackson Security, which is very reputable in the city of Springfield, will be the company that is hired to provide the security. And just so people know, Jackson Security, they will still have the option and to call police for assistance as well.
Thank you.
The
That makes me
permit
feel
says
more
police.
comfortable, and appreciate Councilor Edwards and Leo, whole South End Citizens Councils, all their work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Are there any other councilors that would like to speak on the issue?
Could you just have someone summon?
Sure, Councilor Allen. Madam Clerk, would you mind summarizing the proposed amendment as is? Councilor Allen, I don't know if you heard Madam Clerk just say that she'd probably have to transcribe what was mentioned. But to the best of your ability, Madam Clerk, if you could just sum that up.
Mr. President, if it would satisfy, I can read the conditions, all 16 of them, if that would satisfy Councilor Allen.
No, I'm just asking for a summary. If there's been so much back and forth, 2 a.m. all night, whatever.
I can try to do the best I can to repeat it again. It would include the 16 conditions as circulated to the council. And in addition, the hours of operation of the inside the store would be from 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. The drive-through would operate from 5 a.m. to 2 a.m. And this would also include the hiring of a security, whether it's Jackson or not, but the hiring of a security to patrol from the hours of 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. Yes.
Okay, that's fine. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Are there any other questions or comments from the council at this time? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the special permit with the proposed amendments as presented.
I'll make the motion. Yes.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Edwards and seconded by Councilor Walsh. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on approving the special permit?
On approving the special permit, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
No.
No, Councilor Curran?
No.
No, Councilor Whitfield?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Ramos?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Brown?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Walsh?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Davila?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Fenton?
No.
No, Councilor Hurst?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Williams?
Yes, the special permit is approved. Phil, I hate to put you in this position to be Councilor Edwards, but if you don't mind, please reading the reasons one more time on the approval.
Give me 1 second here on that. Hold on 1 second. So the condition, or sorry, the findings, the specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use. The planning staff analysis shall be incorporated as a basis of this decision.
Thank you. Councilor Allen, did you have a?
Oh, I'm sorry. That was for the next thing.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on accepting the reasons?
On accepting the reasons, Councilor Edwards?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Letterman?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Gomez?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Allen?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Curran? Counselor Curran, Counselor Whitfield,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Ramos,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Brown,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Walsh,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Davila,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Fenton,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Hurst,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Williams.
Yes, the reasons have been approved. Madam Clerk, can you please call item number 30?
Item number 30 is for a special permit to expand the residential component of a mixed-use building at the property known as 275 Chestnut Street.
All right, and Madam Clerk, have we received, oh, Counselor, I know you had your hand up for this item.
No, that's okay. I wanted to see if this was going next. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, have we received any testimony in favor?
No,
All right, and opposition?
no.
All right, are there any questions for the petitioner counsel at this time? Right, seeing none, is there any further deliberation that the council would like to have? All right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion at this time to approve the special permit.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Allen, seconded by Counselor Edwards. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Letterman,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Gomez,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Allen,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Curran,
No.
no, Counselor Whitfield,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Ramos,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Brown,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Walsh,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Davila,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Fenton,
Abstain.
abstain, Counselor Hurst,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Williams,
Yes, the special permit is approved. Mr. Dromey, again, for the last time.
The specific site is an appropriate location for such a use, structure, or condition. The use as developed will not adversely affect the neighborhood. Adequate and appropriate facilities will be provided for the proper operation of the proposed use, and the planning staff analysis shall be incorporated as a basis of this decision.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you please call the roll on accepting the reasons as presented?
on accepting the reasons, Counselor Edwards,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Letterman,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Gomez,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Allen,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Curran,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Whitfield,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Ramos,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Brown,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Walsh,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Davila,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Fenton,
Abstain.
abstain, Counselor Hurst,
Yes.
yes, Counselor Williams,
Yes, the reasons have been approved. Counselor Allen?
I would like to blow the whistle on the meeting. I don't know if there's anything that has to get done, but I have item 40 2 times in a row. We haven't gotten to it, but time's up for me.
All right, we have an objection by Counselor Allen. Before we entertain that, Counselor Allen, I do see that we have the election warrant on here. And
can I speak to that quickly?
yes, please, I'm sorry, Madam Clerk, yes.
So we can take that up at the next meeting because it's within the deadline. If you need to continue it, that's fine.
Counselor Letterman, I'm sorry, Counselor Walston Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I see from the traffic and that we have, is it, I want to get your rank right, Sergeant Mel. And I was under the impression that we had to take up the petitions traffic commission tonight, that it was timely. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mel, is that correct? And can you give your correct rank so
Yes, Mal Kwiatkowski, a lieutenant with the Springfield Police Department.
Okay. All right, you were just promoted. I thought you were a sergeant. I wanted to make sure I got it right, but I was under the impression that these had to be taken up tonight. I don't think they'll take much time.
What items then?
Thank you, Counselor Walsh. Counselor Letterman.
Thank you, Mr. President. I certainly don't begrudge anybody their position. You know, it is a rule that was established by the council relative to the 10 p.m. cap. I would just respectfully speak against it in this case. We have some folks that have still been waiting on this meeting for their agenda items to be heard. We're a little backed up from the summer still. We have other items that have been referred to committee that are going to definitely be coming back at the next meeting. It's my position. I think we should stick it out and just finish off this agenda so that we can have a fresh start next time. But certainly it's within the rights of any counselor. I just know that there's a couple items here, as Councilor Walsh pointed out. Lieutenant Kwiatkowski's been with us all night waiting on these traffic commission pieces. There's some other petitions. So just my thoughts.
Thank you, Councilor Letterman. Councilor Allen, would you be amendable to perhaps hearing those items? I will say that in regard to the zoning changes, one of them Phil gave me the impression that one will be continued. So that is one less hearings matter that we do have to take up, but I, again, leave it at your discretion.
I would just say the time to think about this was 3 hours ago. So no, I am not amenable to changing the agenda. I would like to request that the meeting be terminated.
All right, Councilor Whitfield on that motion.
I just wanted to ask, how many items do we have left on this agenda?
We have.
I couldn't keep counting.
Yeah, we have around, most of the financial orders have not been heard. And then when you pair that with the changes, which would be 2, and then the petitions, I would say we've tackled probably half the agenda tonight.
So half will have to come back. I mean, I definitely want to respect our colleagues' wishes, because I know that last meeting, I was pretty adamant about, extending the meeting for a half hour. And my wishes were respected, and I do appreciate that. And so, we set a rule, and I think we ought to abide by it. But like Councilor Walsh said, if we could just hear any that are pressing, that time is of the essence, then maybe we could hear that one. I don't know, Councilor Allen, maybe that one.
We have Councilor Fenn and I have had the Eversource item on there twice. I think we just got to call it. I'll call Sergeant Kwiatkowski and apologize, but we got it. The time to deal with this is when we're talking endlessly about things along the way, not now. There's nothing wrong with what I'm doing right now. It's what the council rule is. The time to deal with it is when we're going along and the clock is passing. So I request that the meeting ends.
Okay. I will entertain just a couple more conversations on this, and then we'll take it from there. Our Councilor Davila. I'm sorry, almost in Davila.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I'll be brief.
Mr. President.
No, Councilor Davila. I'm sorry, Councilor Ramos first.
Councilor Ramos, okay.
Mr. President, may I suggest scheduling a special meeting between now and the next meeting so that we can dispose of these items that we have carried over from the summer? I think we have got to get these done. We're otherwise we're going to keep doing this in every meeting. We're going to keep ending the meeting at 10:30 with things still on the agenda. So I would suggest that we schedule a special meeting and take care of all the other issues that remain.
Sounds good.
Yes, Councilor Ramos, that would be my intention if this were to be a dead meeting after these folks speak. So Councilor Gomez, then Councilor Hurst, and then again, we'll deal with this.
Call me up.
Yes, Councilor Gomez.
Yes, I'm ready to go. And I support Councilor Allen on this. We old timers need our bed rest, and we've been at it since pretty early this morning. And I'm sorry, it's time to quit.
All right, thank you, Councilor Gomez, and then finally, Councilor Hurst.
Don't forget, Mr. President.
Yeah, no, I don't think we should even be having any further discussion. So I agree with Councilor Allen, and the only caveat is that we probably should have addressed it when we were making the rules at our first meeting. So anyhow, it is what it is. Have a great evening.
Well, good night.
Mr. President, if I may.
Good night, everybody.
30 seconds.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Before folks hop off, I do want to have a motion to view the
Mr.
remaining
President, point
items.
of order, sir?
Yes, Councilor. I'm sorry, Councilor Davila.
Yes, you forgot about me, sir.
Yes, please feel free.
Story of my life. But no, just briefly, I was just gonna mention, having another meeting is an option, but I was gonna suggest if my colleagues are amicable to it, maybe we can start half an hour earlier and get something done in the early parts of the meeting. Just a thought.
Councilor Davila, I'll take that in jest because that's all I can take at this point.
Thank you, Mr. President.
My consideration.
I will, with that, I will entertain a motion to continue the remaining items, and the clerk and I will work to determine exactly what those are. I won't belabor the point of trying to pick out each one, but
motion to continue all
thank you.
leftover items.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Edwards, seconded by Councilor Fenton. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll on continuing the remaining items?
On continuing the remaining items, Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Letterman.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Gomez.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Allen.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Curran.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Whitfield.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Ramos.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Brown.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Walsh.
No.
No, Counselor Davila.
Sorry, yes.
Yes, Counselor Fenton.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Hurst.
Yes.
Yes, Counselor Williams.
No, we will be continued, and councilors, please be on the lookout for another subsequent scheduling of a special meeting. Thank you all.
Good night.
Evening.
Thank you. Good night.